and teaching itself how to read. This chimp is named Bolo, and researchers at Duke University have shown that he can solve three-dimensional logic puzzles. An impressive feat indeed, until you learn that human children as young as 3 are also able to solve the puzzle. Even a mentally handicapped human is capable of verbal speech, something no chimpanzee has ever been able to accomplish, despite working vocal cords capable of howling in irritation after soiling itself. Chimps have been observed using tools, but their tools are little more than sticks. Even driving and preparing pancakes, tasks we leave to the stupidest, least educated humans, lay beyond the capabilities of the chimp.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. You can call in at 603-283-6160. Tonight in the studio, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Peakless Mountaineer.
And we've got some things to talk about, like Roundup and mushrooms and concentration camps.
Oh my, it's going to be a fun show, it sounds like.
So I think that maybe we should start with your Monsanto story, if you've got that pulled up. If not, we can do something else.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. Is there a story?
There is, in fact.
There is. It's about everyone's favorite company, Monsanto.
So I recently found out that they got bought out by Bayer.
That's not surprising.
And, just when I thought Monsanto couldn't get any more evil, crop dusting fields with patented seeds so that they can then sue farmers for stealing their patents, that was pretty evil. But now they're owned by the inventors of heroin.
Oh, wow.
I mean, but maybe you can round up your heroin and, it's a twofer.
Well, that's why we occupied Afghanistan,
that's
after
right.
all.
Now you can put Roundup on the poppies. You can kill everyone with heroin and Roundup at the same time. And then you can charge them for it because you've patented it.
Sounds like a great deal.
Smart business.
I know.
All right. So from nationofchange.org, Monsanto drops lawsuits against Mexican government over its genetically modified corn ban. After a 4-year legal battle, 2 Mexican divisions of Monsanto, now subsidiaries of Bayer, announced that they dropped lawsuits against the Mexican government. Several lawsuits were initiated in response to President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's 2020 presidential decree, which aimed to ban glyphosate and genetically modified corn for human consumption. Glyphosate, by the way, is Roundup. Mm-hmm. Same thing.
So they were suing them because they wanted to ban the Monsanto corn, not because, the normal reason that Monsanto sues everyone because they're growing a plant.
Right.
That accidentally landed in their field.
Yeah, because, there's nothing wrong with just making it impossible for anyone to use genes.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong with owning the code of life?
That's right. When you're treated like gods.
Yeah, well, you look at exactly what they're attempting to do, and some people will be like, "What's the end game?" It's like power.
Yeah.
Well, but why do they want the power? No, that's why they want the power. They want the power for the same reason that a heroin addict wants heroin, because they want the heroin.
Yeah, that's right.
They want the addiction. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel that addiction running through their lives. The addiction to power. Once they control the food supply and can decide who can grow a certain kind of food and who can grow a certain kind of plant, they can control the populace.
That's absolutely right. They already dominate what we consider to be medicine and what you're allowed to take as medicine. Mm-hmm. That just isn't quite enough. They really want to dominate not only the medicine, but what you get to eat as food.
That's right. Well, what better way to ensure that you're buying their medicine than to feed you poison food?
Right.
So, hand in hand. And now the Bayer's buying them.
They provide the sickness and the cure at the same time.
That's a fact. Yeah, I mean, does anyone else have a great idea as to why does Bill Gates own more farmland in America than anybody else?
Weird.
Oh, it's almost like you're trying to control every single step of the human biological process.
Zuckerberg bought some
weird.
farmland too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if his is for the same reason. I think maybe he's making sure that he doesn't get the poison food. I'm sure that lots of them have their own little farms where they get their actual food that they eat from because they don't want to eat glyphosate.
Yeah, I think that's why they make sure that organic options still exist and, you know, make sure you pay twice the price for them because you don't want plebs eating food.
That's right. The poor.
You got to keep the poor away from the real food. We want to make sure they're dying of sickness and
Yeah, how are we
provide
supposed to
them the
control
cure.
their fertility if they're eating real food?
Right.
I
If they
know.
breed, then there'll be more pores. Gross.
Right.
Ew.
Right. And then we have more people to keep an eye on all of the time. And that just extends greater state resources.
And you can also make the food so expensive that they can't afford it anymore. And then when they're like, we can't afford this anymore, you can just be like, eat cereal for
Right.
dinner, which is full of glyphosate.
It's like, have you ever considered just mowing down some poison instead of trying to feed yourself?
It's the circle of life.
Yeah. Yeah, that one shocked me. Just consider cereal for dinner. It's like,
Cereal.
but no.
It's part of a healthy, balanced diet.
Well, and the idea of like, okay, so you have the largest meal of the day at some point in the day, usually the evening meal, sometimes for lunch, but like there's a reason that people will accept a tiny amount of food for their breakfast, or some people will skip breakfast altogether, but you have to actually eat at some point. So if cereal, you know, a bowl of cereal is your largest meal in the day, something has gone wrong.
And I don't think that there's, you know, broccoli cereal or zucchini cereal or anything with like actual nutrition, like carrot cereal.
Yeah.
There might be carrot cereal, but it's probably like $15 a box because that's not for the pores.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, last I checked, no actual like food type food, more, you know, fuel.
Yeah.
And you know, chock full of preservatives, which for some reason people don't understand that the purpose of preservatives is to stop chemical processes from occurring.
yeah.
Like, this is supposed to stop digestion from occurring. That is its job, and it's very good at it.
Yeah.
So when you put this in your body, it stops chemical processes from occurring, which is not so good.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
everyone has like IBS and Crohn's disease. And they're like, what's happening? I have leaky gut for no reason. I eat all of my cereal for dinner.
Yeah, and everyone complains about, oh, in my day we didn't have all of this gluten intolerance. It's like, well, in your day we didn't dry wheat by pouring Roundup on it.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most insane thing ever. Like, I get the idea of like, well, we were willing to accept a certain amount of poison on our food because, well, you pour it on there once and then it kills all of the weeds and then, you know, it rains and like you get most of the poison back off of there.
Into your rainwater.
Sure, but, you know, it gets dispersed. It's at least, you know, diluted at that point.
The thing about Monsanto and these companies who want to control the food supply is they are going to control the food supply come hell or high water. And this is why it's important for us to grow our own food if we can and band together and create a community garden and do things like that so that we're not being infested by destructive chemical-laden food.
Yeah.
That's
And
absolutely right.
The sad thing is that the land itself is poisoned at this point. So even the food you're growing yourself is poisoned, but it's less poisoned
Right.
if you're using less chemicals on it. I saw an article today that was talking about tampons are found, they did testing on them, and they have arsenic in them because, so all this land that's poisoned that you can't grow crops on for food, they're growing cotton on. So then they're harvesting that cotton and using it in things, and then the cotton's full of arsenic, and then they're putting it in the tampons, and then you're just, so men have the microplastics in their testicles, and the women have arsenic inside of them.
Nice.
Yeah. The kids of the future generations are lucky.
Yeah, so a fun part about that one, so I try to keep my food costs down, and that means a lot of times I have to forego organic food. But one thing that I will not forego organic on is peanut butter. Because the reason, when you plant peanuts, those always end up in the same fields that circulate with cotton.
Yeah.
So while it's growing peanuts, you can't pour things like arsenic on there, but it still has it in the ground.
Yeah, it's in the ground.
Yeah, so since you're cycling back and forth from, we can pour arsenic on it, it's only going to go on everyone's bodies all of the time and sometimes inside of them. But we can put arsenic on that. But peanuts, no, we can't pour the arsenic on there. No chance it'll get in there from growing in arsenic.
Well, one of the things that the article talked about was organic tampons had higher levels of arsenic because one of the organic pesticides that they use has arsenic in it.
Oh,
What?
Yes.
that's really sad.
Yeah.
That's really frightening.
So, arsenic's natural. We can use it on the organic stuff. It's natural. It comes from the earth.
Yeah, plutonium is natural and comes from the earth.
They
I wouldn't
probably-
suggest putting it inside you.
They'd probably use it if it stopped bugs.
I'm sure
So-
that they would.
This is a call-in radio show, and we do have a call. We're going to go to Dave Ridley in New Hampshire. Hi, Dave.
Hey guys,
How's it going?
So I have good news and bad news. The good news is that a active supporter of New Hampshire independence, at least he's been active in the past, is running for state rep in Seabrook.
Okay. Who is that?
His name is Matt. I never can pronounce this quite right.
Sansnastasso?
Sanbarin.
Oh,
Matt Sanbarin de Schwaner.
I don't know him.
Wow.
Do you know him?
No.
No, I don't know him either.
Sorry,
So
Matt,
he-
one more time?
If I say it again, I'll mispronounce it again. But it's something like Sanbarin de Schwaner.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know how he pronounces it. That would be roughly.
Sounds like the way it would be spelled would be pronounced Dejeuner. Desjeuner.
No idea. Anyway, he ran the New Hampshire Independence PAC, which he started. I believe he founded it in 2022 and ran it for maybe 18 months. But as soon as he started his run for state rep, he resigned from that, pulled back from that. And now we're having trouble getting him to answer the question of whether he's in favor of New Hampshire independence.
Huh.
Oh.
I don't like when people don't answer questions that are running for any type of political office.
I don't either.
He will respond. You know, if you, I've Russell Canning has queried him, and I've queried him, and he's always answered. He's always responded, but he doesn't really answer the question. So Russell posted a meme from Office Space. If you could just tell us how you feel about unilateral NH secession, that would be great. And so he answered by posting his website and his platform. He posted a link to his platform, which does not mention independence or secession, at least not currently. And then when Russell said specifically, how about unilateral NH secession, he says, quote, "That requires a lot more public support than it has right now to be successful," unquote.
Huh.
That's still such a non-answer, though.
Yeah, that is absolutely so. Oxygen combines with hydrogen to create water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but what is your stance on this?
So, yeah, I mean, Churchill used to say, this is a quote, "Prudence and audacity may be alternated but not mixed," right? I'm sorry, alternated but never mixed.
Yeah.
Is what Churchill said. And
Only
that's
stirred.
it's not quite true, but the fact is you don't really want to mix those two if you can help it. So Matt was doing the audacious thing when he was running the PAC, but now he's doing the prudent thing, sort of. So I guess he's sort of alternating, but people will figure it out. Like, I mean, no one on the other side is going to give him a break because he resigned from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you may as well be all in on freedom if you've already declared that you're going to support freedom.
Yeah, and I should have prefaced this by saying Matt is a really fun person to talk to. I really like him. I don't want to disparage his character, but these moves are bad moves. Fortunately, Russell Canning has already taken over the New Hampshire Independence PAC. I think he's in charge of it, or at least he's an important part of it yet. And now there's two people running it instead of one. So it's still it's still firing on all its cylinders. And hopefully Matt will get into office and will, push liberty forward. And if it comes to it, hopefully he'll vote in favor of independence or, of an independence referendum next time that comes up.
Yeah, I mean, the least the guy could do, I get that he's trying to be politic about this, but the least he could do is say, it is really important that we have a contingency plan for that possibility. Like, that is the least that you could do to at least, somewhat push forward the idea that maybe we shouldn't have our lives run by the largest and most destructive empire humanity has ever produced.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I get you're trying not to alienate voters, but like, you will be tarred with this by your opposition either way.
Yeah. Right.
So,
they've never fought clean in any election ever.
Right.
Well, probably not ever, but like any recent election. So you might as well just go all in.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah, you should support independence if you were part of an independence PAC organization in the past, because it would go a long way to show what kind of human being you are when you say that, yeah, I'm in favor of New Hampshire independence. So what?
Yeah, and as much as we don't really like Trump that much, see, this is one of the things that he gets right. Is when you confront him about something, he doesn't waffle. He just doubles down. Right? He's usually wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that he stands his ground means he does have a massive and dedicated base.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is what I find mind-boggling about this is like, okay, look at what's happening in politics right now. Like, I understand that in ordinary times you would want to sort of shy away from the most radical perspectives and positions, but look around, man. Like, this is a populist moment that is occurring. Both on the left and on the right, populism has really taken over the voter base. Like, we know that things are corrupt. We know that what we are doing now is not acceptable and cannot be continued. Mm-hmm. So the people who are going to be the first to say, hey, I want to do something very different and much smarter, are going to be the first to be rewarded by the voter base for doing that.
That was Trump's whole thing that he ran on last time was, I'm not a politician. I want to do things differently.
Right.
And it worked out really well for him.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
so
think,
effective that he's very likely to be the next president.
Yeah, so I think stepping out there and going all in on all of your beliefs is probably the smartest choice right now.
Yeah, I mean, these are not ordinary times.
Yeah.
I get how, like, oh, well, things are even keel. I don't want to upset the apple cart. Like, there's a time for that. This isn't it. Like, things are crazy. We are toying with World War III on a regular basis. The position of the United States as the monopolar moment is pretty much at an end, and it's in the process of losing its status as the world reserve currency. Like, things are shifting. Mm-hmm. Now, you can either surf the wave of change, or you can get under it.
Right.
And that's about it.
Anything else, Dave?
Nothing to add.
All right. Thank you for calling. 603-283-6160. Maybe Matt can call in, tell us he's all about secession.
That would be excellent.
If he's listening.
Clarify your position.
Yeah.
We really want to know here on Free Talk Live what your position actually is.
It's a fact. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it's, a few thousand voters for every representative here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not perfect, but like, at least it is possible to have representation that actually somewhat kind of maybe a little bit will do what you want it to do.
Yeah, instead of having your represent like, a million other people.
Right.
Which is absurd.
Yeah, and I mean, even when you get to the level of the Senate, because you don't have hundreds of senators in this state, it's a lot less representation per senator.
Like, I understand that there's somebody has to represent a number of people, but when you get to such a number like that, you can't even represent 100 people for their opinion and have everyone be happy about it. But a million people, forget it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the people who were in charge of deciding how many representatives there were the representatives. And they went, wait, so I could dilute my power and, give you proper justice, or I could not dilute my power. Mm-hmm. And turns out they chose almost across the board not to dilute their power.
And then I can say, well, I'm representing the people that I vote for. or that voted for me, but you have no way to prove that because there's so many of you. You don't know what the opinion of all these other 999,000 people next to you are.
Yeah. Anyway, on with the article.
On with the article.
Hang on.
Did you lose the article?
Sorry, we're having a bit of technicalities with the AC at the moment, and my brain doesn't work at certain temperatures.
It is very hot.
Yeah.
New England is so hot right now. It's 80% humidity or something, and 90 degrees.
70 some odd percent humidity or 80% humidity, and it's hot today.
It's too much. The air's water.
Yeah. We had a storm move through and bring more humidity, but no relief to the temperature. So it's a warm, sweltering day.
All right, so several lawsuits were initiated in response to the president's decree to ban glyphosate and genetically modified corn for human consumption. The decision is being hailed as a triumph for life, health, and food sovereignty by the National Council of Humanities, Sciences, and Technologies.
Yeah, less poison food. It's good for everybody.
Wouldn't you know it? Yeah,
Way to go, Mexico.
It is truly astonishing that people are so uninvolved in managing their own lives that they can't put a little bit of pressure on these people who do not want to lose your vote. Yeah. They do not want to lose their power. So make sure that they know you won't vote for the poisoner.
When I lived in Arizona, one of the grocery stores was like the cheap, poor grocery store, and a lot of their produce came from Mexico, and people were always like, oh, I won't shop there. That's all like Mexican produce. I shopped there and I bought the produce. Like, if it's in this country, it's obviously safe for human consumption according to the FDA, but I bet that it's less chemical laden than the stuff you're getting down the street at the other grocery store. Yeah,
it's a weird trade-off because, like, so I was just talking about the Mexican Coke, right? Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So
the other,
that's
kind of
Colombian.
Mexican Coke.
No, the glass bottles full of real sugar Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Which are currently no longer available in Mexico.
Really?
Weird.
Yeah, they are only available in America, and they're labeled as, the Mexican Coca-Cola.
Why is it no longer available in Mexico?
Corruption.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So what had happened in the very first place here was that you had all of these agricultural lobbies, and there's this absolutely insane amount of money in politics. So of course they're going to spend all of their money on politics because, like, if you get a 10% return on business, like, you're amazing. But if you spend money on politics, you get like a 1,000% return. So, of course, they spend their money on politics.
Right.
So they lobbied enough politicians to basically move the entire food production system from things like sugar to corn, and to just put corn in absolutely everything.
Everything.
Right. But Mexico didn't have this whole, like, printing the world's reserve currency thing, so they didn't have that particular kind of corruption. So they were still doing it with sugar just because it was easier to get to. Mm-hmm. And that became the tradition, and it kept their customers. But what ended up happening is that they put a tax on that, and in order to keep the price of creating Coca-Cola down, they had to move to corn syrup, which had simply become cheaper. So now the only place you can get Mexican Coca-Cola is in America.
That's insane.
That is insane.
So there are some interesting trade-offs between the U.S. and Mexico as far as food go.
Interesting. 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
Mark.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click join today.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Hire with your Week in Review, a roundup of what's been making headlines around the world these past days.
Now our country has voted for change, for national renewal, and a return of politics to public service.
And we start this week in the UK, where the British people delivered an overwhelming call for change as the Labour Party took control of government following a landslide election victory. It ends 14 years of Conservative rule. Ollie Barrett was following a historic election night from outside Parliament in London.
The changeover in British politics is brutal. Hours after conceding defeat in the election, Rishi Sunak leaves Downing Street and Keir Starmer enters number 10. He will have to spend the next few days putting together a new cabinet, a government that can run the country with the sizable majority that he has secured in the House of Commons. Huge challenges ahead for that government. Huge challenges also ahead for the Conservatives after this rout at the ballot box. Some in the party think they've abandoned their base and should turn right. Others think they've abandoned the centre ground and should move in that direction. There are battles ahead.
Elections globally. Iranians took part on Friday in a runoff presidential vote, and the French are heading to the polls again this weekend for the second round of the general election. In the United States, the election is still 4 months away, but already President Joe Biden is fighting for his political future on the campaign trail as he seeks to allay concerns over his age and mental acuity amid a shaky debate performance last week, which sparked intense deliberations about whether he should step aside and give up the nomination. Caroline Malone reports.
Joe Biden has admitted the debate wasn't a good night for him, but he insists he's still the best person to beat Donald Trump in the US election. "I'm not going anywhere," he told military service people and families at the White House on July 4th. That's the same messaging he'd given governors on Wednesday. But polls show he's slipping further behind his Republican rival, particularly in swing states. The latest data suggests as many as 80% of people in the US think Biden is too old to be president again.
Joe Biden is 81. That's 3 years older than Donald Trump, whose sentencing has been postponed because of the United States Supreme Court's controversial decision to provide criminal immunity for US presidents. He was due to appear in court in New York this coming Thursday, having been convicted for falsifying business records to cover up an affair with a porn star, a guilty verdict Trump says he'll appeal. But the judge confirmed the sentencing is now officially delayed until mid-September, after Trump argued his conviction should be overturned due to Monday's landmark Supreme Court ruling. From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. Call in at 603-283-6160. Join in the conversation, talk about anything you would like. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash, digital cash. With fees of less than a penny per transaction, Dash is made for spending. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges including the decentralized Maya protocol and in multi-crypto wallets. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month for this sponsorship. It's easy to get and use Dash. You can learn more at dash.org. That's dash.org. Tonight in the studio, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Peakless Mountaineer.
And we were talking about how Monsanto was sad that their feelings got hurt because Mexico didn't want their Roundup.
Yeah, sad in the form of many, many lawsuits.
Don't you sue people when they make you sad?
Well,
yes, I sue them all the time.
So I have this
Every
thing
single
about
day.
Not using force to get my way in life as a general rule.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I know.
It is weird,
it's
isn't
wild.
It?
Like
it's really wild because most people love to use the strong arm of government or the courts or whatever to get their way. And well, the courts are the government, but They love to use the strong arm of authority to get their way, but, we here in New Hampshire, we're libertarians, and for some reason, we don't like the strong arm of authority.
That's because when you point the gun of the government at someone else, you're just pointing it at yourself too.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Every power that you give them to use against your enemies will be used by your enemies against you.
That's right.
Somehow, people never really wrap their minds around this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like right now, all of the people, mostly in the Trump camp, who are like, "Oh my God, they're spying on Trump." Yeah, because you gave them that power.
Right, they're spying on everyone.
Did you forget 20 years ago when you went, yeah, the government can just do everything because terrorists?
Mm-hmm.
No, they forgot that. They forgot that their political friends are going to be caught up in the political snares that they gave to their political friends 20 years ago.
And it doesn't even work. It doesn't even work for the premise that they say it's working for.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it doesn't stop terrorism.
Well, I mean, what was it Ron Paul said about look at the title of an act, and that's how you know the opposite of what it will do?
The Patriot Act?
Yeah.
So no
I've never
patriots.
seen anything more anti-patriotic than that.
Yeah.
The Inflation Reduction Act is one of my very favorites. Like, we will reduce inflation by printing a whole lot of money.
Yeah. If you get enough inflation, it'll deflate, right?
See, it works like this.
What goes up must come down.
It works like this. So when you inflate a balloon too much, then it pops and it deflates.
Yes, and everyone will have a great time when that happens.
Oh, yeah, everyone's going to have such a fun time when the bubble pops and the money becomes absolute... Oh, wait, it's going to become worthless. No one's going to have a fun time.
Yeah, well, I'll have a fun time, actually.
Really?
Go ahead, ruin it. I use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with Michael Saylor on too much, but we have a word for people who save in fiat currency. We call them poor.
Poor people, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bitcoin's going down, so I don't know how valuable it is.
I mean, it's like trying to build an igloo in the Sahara. Like, that is what it's like using the dollar.
Yeah.
You have a melting ice cube that you are attempting to build an infrastructure with. That's not going to work.
I'm fine with any currency, alternative currency, that works. Whatever everybody else wants to use, I'm fine. You want buttons? We'll trade buttons. I don't care. You want food? We'll trade food. Whatever it is. The dollar is not the one, though.
Yeah. Anything that the worst murderers on the planet can just create out of thin air.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I know it's not just the government creating this. It's also all of the banks throughout the world.
Yeah, which are also the government.
Because they're the good guys, right?
They're also just the government, though. Like, when you open the curtain, it's just the government back there inside.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, unfortunately, that is one of the things that's going to get completely lost in the world going forward. Because right now we're watching the transition of power from the left to the right. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, everyone saw Biden's performance at the presidential debate, mm-hmm. and I don't know how I feel about the fact that they just like muted Trump's microphone, so he literally could not interrupt Biden collapsing into himself.
I'm sure, it worked out for both sides, though. Trump didn't get to talk, and also they got to showcase Biden, collapsing into himself.
Right.
Fumbling around and doing weird things. I've heard a rumor, and this is just a rumor, that Biden is going through some medical stuff right now and has canceled his future appearances.
So I heard that
How convenient.
I heard that he said he got seen by a doctor after that, and everything was just A-okay, and he's fine, but he's not going to schedule any events after 8 p.m. anymore because he has a bedtime. And so he's got to get his jammies on and have his milk and then go to bed.
I'm glad that the commander-in-chief can be expected to perform when it is necessary, so long as that time is while the sun is up.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, in the summer, in the winter.
Yeah.
Who knows? It'll probably be like 2 p.m. because it gets dark really early.
There is that.
It does.
You
really
can't expect to lead the free world without a nap.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so we're going to watch the shift move from the left to the right, and guess what happens when people get power? It corrupts them every single time, without exception, because that's how power and humans work. Guess what happens when you feed heroin to people? They gain an addiction because that's how heroin in people work.
Exactly.
And power literally does the same thing in people's brains.
It's true.
Like, hook them up to an MRI. You cannot distinguish between, oh, that one's on heroin and that one's on power.
Except for heroin diminishes over time the amount of reward that your brain gets, but not power.
Oh, no, that's identical. And
really?
That's actually the most disturbing part about this. Because I'm sure that you've noticed, like, wow, back in the day, they used to pretend they weren't doing this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's kind of noticed, they really are not bothering to cover up as much as they used to.
Not at all.
And,
they're letting their masks slip.
Right. Why would they do that? And so so
they can blame the other guy. That's why they're doing it.
Well, there is that. There's some 3D chess reasons for it, like, oh, well, we'll get the population to accept us doing this. And that's true, but there's also just the simple addict reason for it. They are chasing the dragon. Mm-hmm. They need a bigger hit of power. Once you've murdered 1,000 children, you need to murder 10,000 children to get the same hit.
Then 100,000 children, then 1,000,000 children, then 1,000,000 people, then civilizations.
Yeah,
they're doing that though already.
Yeah, well, look at they are toying with World War III. Mm-hmm. That's all the people.
Yeah, that's all the people.
Like, that is what happens. If you allow a nuclear war to occur, we will very probably cease to exist because enough nuclear weapons will go off in a short enough period of time that it kicks so much dust into the air that there just aren't people anymore.
I think you got cave systems here in New England.
There is no way around this. Like, if you cut off the source of energy to the world that is the sun, it will turn off the things that are going on Earth. Just like if you unplug a TV, the screen goes dark. Yeah, you can for a short period of time burn a bunch of so-called fossil fuels, and that will slowly kill everyone.
Yeah.
But no, we literally don't function without the sun.
No, yeah, that's true. Nothing grows.
Yeah, nothing grows.
The earth becomes so cold and barren.
Well, and without plants, there's no oxygen.
Yeah. Yeah, and the arrogance to believe that we have discovered everything about reality. Mm-hmm. That, oh, well, no, it's very simple. The sun only allows us to create these carbohydrate energy systems. No, that is a thing that it does.
Yeah.
That is an obvious effect of the sun. That is not all that it's doing. The world is more mysterious than you give it credit for. It's doing a bunch of other things that keep you alive. And if you make it stop, we all die.
Yeah.
And that's what they're playing with because, number one, they need a bigger hit. And number two, they are absolutely unwilling to let power be distributed.
I do want to refute one thing you said, though, which is that the power is transferring from the left to the right, but they're all the same guy at the top. So it's not really, it's just the appearance of the power shift.
Well, it's flavor.
Yeah.
It's still ice cream. It's just switching from chocolate to vanilla.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
Like it's still going to give you diabetes, but it's a different flavor of ice cream, and they do have slightly different things. So one thing, like, we can expect that corporations will be given free rein moving forward. Like
as if they already don't have free rein.
Oh no, this is them with a leash. I know, it's a disturbing thought, but this, like what we have right now, because there are factions in the monsters, basically communism and fascism. Now, they're both authoritarian nightmares, but they are different flavors. They're different ways of enslaving the earth.
Yeah.
And as such, when you have the communists in control, as we basically have right now, then government agencies have ultimate power. Mm-hmm. Now, you can see with the Chevron decision, like, that's over.
Right.
Like, agencies having all power over American law, that has just ended. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see the effect of that end play out moving forward. So all of that power that has been in the power of agencies of government, well, official agencies of government, is going to shift to, the thing that government created, corporations.
Yeah, but I think that In my opinion, it's all the same thing. All these corporations, their shareholders are just the guys in the government who are making the laws for the corporations. They're all the same guy.
But they do it different ways.
Right, yeah. So they're just going to kill us, but like in fun, new, inventive ways.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble there. They're not going to be new. They're just going to be the other set of old and not so inventive ways.
They should come up with new, inventive
You know,
ways.
I demand
New
more interesting ways of human sacrifice.
That's right. Start throwing us into volcanoes, but that one's been done already.
Yeah.
There is no, everyone has done everything. There's
Throwing
no new
people
ideas.
into volcanoes is different than throwing them into dens of lions. They're different.
No new ideas,
It
though.
has the same effect, but they're different flavors. And we can expect, and this is especially important for libertarians, because right now we're basically at the pinnacle of libertarian right-wing politics.
Right.
Like, the right is as libertarian as it's going to get right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see, as they get their taste of power over their foes, they will want more and more power. And they will shift more and more in an authoritarian direction. The people on the right will start flowing out of libertarian circles. And at the same time, because here's how it always goes, the people on the left will start remembering, oh yeah, we don't trust corporations. We don't trust the pharmaceutical corporations. And, oh yeah, we're actually against the military-industrial complex. Huh. Maybe we should start, like, talking about bankers and how they're bad.
Yeah, maybe they should. I mean, I remember in the early aughts, when I was in college, that the Democrats were anti-war. Well,
I missed them.
Obama gets in power, and all of a sudden they
that
forget
is
how anti-war they are. And
100% what happened.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you had the first black president. And you are a traitor to the cause if you say that this human being did a bad thing. Because this particular human being is the first black president ever. So we just have to, lockstep. Nothing he does is anything but perfect. So when he does literally the exact same thing as his predecessor, then we have to embrace that all of those policies are good policies.
Yeah.
Which means drone bombing the absolute bejesus out of everybody is a good policy.
I hate the simple thinking that people have where they're like, yes, a black president, a black woman vice president. Like, these are talking points that they use. Who cares?
yeah.
Who cares what genitals someone has, what color their skin is? I literally don't care. Everybody could be, in fact, I wish everybody was just like shapeless black blobs so that nobody could form an opinion of anybody based on anything but their merits. That would be fantastic.
We can't have a society like that, Lori, because
it would be great.
It would be terrifying. We have to have distinguishing characteristics to make sure we get our favorite people in power.
Well, I'm sure if that were the case, then we would have voiceism.
Oh, gosh.
Good point.
It's true. Okay, and I wish we all talked like, when they have a witness protection, they like black the person out and everybody sounds like this. Like everyone. I wish everyone sounded the same and we're just colorless blobs.
I'm sure we would find a way to be terrible. I mean, we'd have punctuationism. We'd have punctuationism like, those people use semicolons.
How dare they?
Those people have accents.
Those people
Ew.
don't use semicolons. Whatever random difference, because people are tribal. And as long as we are at war, tribalism is, it pays dividends, so to speak. Like, it pays off to be my tribe good, your tribe bad, as long as we're at war.
See, I wonder like all the time if there's something wrong with me because I don't find tribalism useful. I don't like it. I don't want part of any tribe. I have no political party. I have no religious party. Like, I have nothing. The only tribe that I subscribe to is my immediate family members. That's it. That's literally my tribe because they're my immediate family.
Well,
and that's it.
And as a voluntarist, I want the war to end.
Yeah.
I don't want us to be fighting over power. It's terrible. No one enjoys it.
Right. And I feel like that's what tribalism brings.
Yeah.
That's all it brings.
I think power should cease to exist.
Yeah.
Brings divide.
Yeah,
People think that tribalism brings
at least
you...
power over individuals should exist.
Exactly.
Should cease to exist, rather.
Well,
Yeah.
people think that tribalism brings you together, but I have not seen that. It brings people apart. against each other
So
for
it does
no
both.
other reason for that they're on the other team.
Well, it does both. So, like, a really, sort of laboratory experiment of observing part-time tribalism is sports teams.
Yeah, boo.
And you can get, like, for example, you can get, like, Aryan Nation people and Jews to sit together and holler and hug each other as long as they're in the same sports team, people.
Which is absurd.
It is kind of amazing, though. So it does bring people together while bringing them apart.
But then you hate the guy who has all the same views as you, maybe, just because he likes another team.
Yeah.
I just don't, it's not useful.
Well,
it's useful if you want to create division.
Yeah. I mean, it is absolutely the way that the power elite play us against each other.
Mm-hmm. Stop. Stop being on team the other guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like, to bring it back to the Roundup conversation, like, I'm generally against using force against people, but Roundup is literally poison.
It is literally poison.
And when someone is poisoning you, you have to use force against them.
Well, yeah, because that's an act of aggression, though.
Right.
They're harming you.
Right. So in this case, you actually have the government using their ability to use force positively because they're not initiating force. They're not aggressing in this situation. They're responding to the aggression against these people by Monsanto and Bayer because Monsanto and Bayer are poisoning human beings.
Yeah. The problem with that, though, is the government says, well, look, it's self-defense. But then once the self-defense action is over, they're like, well, while we're here, let's aggress heavily.
Yeah, and that's the eternal temptation of power, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, so one great example of this, like the thing that we are suffering the effects of now is, okay, so the right screwed up. They did the Patriot Act, they did the War on Terror, and nobody wants that. Mm-hmm. Everyone saw pretty quickly that was a terrible idea, so the power started shifting from the right to the left. And one of the things that the left accomplished very, very quickly after they started getting power was gay marriage. Mm-hmm. So what they could have done is gone, okay, great, crisis averted. Like, homosexuals are not being, put to death. Great.
Yes.
That we have equality among people. Let's hang up our hat here and move on to something else. And that would have been all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
But no, they had to go, okay, no, it's still not enough. No, we need more power to be taken from these, straight white men and given to other groups. Mm-hmm. More.
Yeah.
No, we need trans. Yes, we'll make the trans agenda a massive focus. Mm-hmm. It's like, but that isn't the problem.
The guy.
We'll make race a focus, but that's also not the problem. And this is the thing about identity politics, is it's always going to exist when people want to fight for the specialized, marginalized groups and pretend to give them so much love. When they try and give them so much love in the political world, the marginalized groups are going to feel, oh, these people love me. But at the end of the day, politicians don't care about marginalized groups. They want power. They want authority. They want control. They want to dominate you.
Yeah,
all that stuff is virtue signaling. Of
course it is.
All these companies come out and they're like, oh, look at our rainbow flag. Raytheon had like a rainbow for Pride Month. Mm-hmm. How absurd is that anybody wasn't like, why is a company that's their whole job is to kill other people, why do they have a pride flag on their website?
Yeah. Well, and as always, it was just jumping out in front of a parade and pretending you're leading it. Because actual human beings had fought for, the view of homosexuality to shift. Mm-hmm. Like, had fought for, no, we're here, we're going to live this way, this is part of who we are, and you have to stop using violence against us.
Yes.
And they succeeded.
Great.
And then the politicians hopped on board and said, yes, we did it. And let's keep going.
Yeah. I am, everybody live your life whatever way you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But like, it seems so absurd that anyone cares who anyone else is sleeping with, what their sexual proclivities are, what gender they decide they are. Like, why does anyone care? I literally do not care.
Because it comes from the religious people who want to say that, well, God wants us to live a certain way.
It's not just them.
So we need to force people to live a certain way.
It's not just them, though. It's the other side that's like, well, you all have to care about what gender I decide I want to be, who I want to sleep with. I need everyone to hear about it, and I need to talk about it all the time and make it a huge part of my personality.
You make a good point.
So
I don't care.
So there is a legitimate side to that. And here's what it is.
Okay.
When humans have sex, humans show up.
Uh-huh.
Like, generally speaking, that's the formula.
Yeah.
So, when humans show up, we want them to not turn into bastards.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's why the word bastard is the word bastard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you are a horrible human being, but what it literally means is that you don't have two parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that word exists is because that's what usually happened. Is that if you did not have two parents, then you had one parent with way more to do than they could handle.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of how it works. So I want to make sure that there aren't a bunch of bastards running around, because I'm here. I live in this world.
Yeah.
And I might decide that, my offspring is going to live into this world, or at the very least, my friend's offspring is also going to come into this world, and I'd like it to not be a terrible place. So there is actually, there is a reasonable side of this of like, well, hold on. Let's make sure that when humans appear, they're going to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. Because we show up in this world absolutely incompetent. That's just how it works. You show up, you are not capable of things.
Yes.
But you still need to be fed.
Yes.
So we do need to make sure that, okay, what's the plan here, people? How are we going to make sure that all of the children get fed and cared for and loved and protected and stimulated emotionally and intellectually so that they, are okay human beings when they grow up?
Yes, but that's a far cry from, I'm so proud that I like BDSM, so I'm going to go parade around in suspenders and nothing else and like a dildo on my head.
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? Nobody should be parading that around. It's absurd and unnecessary, and
I think it is a
a
pseudo-religious response to a religious oppression.
It is. And that's what it is.
And
tribes.
Yes, that is exactly it.
Get rid of them.
It is their way of saying, here is me waving my flag. I am this tribe. I'm here and you can't do anything about it.
Cool. Like, does it really need a month-long parade in the streets?
Well, if we didn't have these politicians stirring up trouble between these tribes, then we wouldn't have all of this. There wouldn't be this desire to wave flags all the time.
I'm okay with flag waving and that. It's gone to such a point that nobody needs to know these things about you. Like the suspenders and nothing else and a dildo on your head. It's unnecessary. 603-283-6160. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first, nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Hire with your Week in Review, a roundup of what's been making headlines around the world these past days.
Now our country has voted for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
And we start this week in the UK, where the British people delivered an overwhelming call for change as the Labour Party took control of government following a landslide election victory. It ends 14 years of Conservative rule. Ollie Barrett was following a historic election night from outside Parliament in London.
The changeover in British politics is brutal. Hours after conceding defeat in the election, Rishi Sunak leaves Downing Street and Keir Starmer enters number 10. He will have to spend the next few days putting together a new cabinet, a government that can run the country with the sizable majority that he has secured in the House of Commons. Huge challenges ahead for that government. Huge challenges also ahead for the Conservatives after this rout at the ballot box. Some in the party think they've abandoned their base and should turn right. Others think they've abandoned the centre ground and should move in that direction. There are battles ahead.
Elections globally. Iranians took part on Friday in a runoff presidential vote, and the French are heading to the polls again this weekend for the second round of the general election. But in days prior, candidates and activists were physically attacked. Ross Collins in Paris.
Prisca Thévenot, an MP for Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance Party, was putting up election posters with her team when a group of people attacked them on the 3rd of July. On Friday, the Interior Minister said that at least 50 people had been subject to aggression ahead of the second round of the general election on Sunday. Some 30,000 police officers, including 5,000 in the capital, will be on duty on the 7th of July to try to respond to any unrest, which some politicians fear would break out in the case of a far-right victory.
In the United States, the election is still 4 months away, but already President Joe Biden is fighting for his political future on the campaign trail as he seeks to allay concerns over his age and mental acuity amid a shaky debate performance last week, which sparked intense deliberations about whether he should step aside and give up the nomination. Caroline Malone reports.
Joe Biden has admitted the debate wasn't a good night for him, but he insists he's still the best person to beat Donald Trump in the US election. "I'm not going anywhere," he told military service people and families at the White House on July 4th. That's the same messaging he'd given governors on Wednesday. But polls show he's slipping further behind his Republican rival, particularly in swing states. The latest data suggests as many as 80% of people in the US think Biden is too old to be president again.
Joe Biden is 81. That's 3 years older than Donald Trump, whose sentencing has been postponed because of the United States Supreme Court's controversial decision to provide criminal immunity for US presidents. He was due to appear in court in New York this coming Thursday, having been convicted for falsifying business records to cover up an affair with a porn star, a guilty verdict Trump says he'll appeal. But the judge confirmed the sentencing is now officially delayed until mid-September, after Trump argued his conviction should be overturned due to Monday's landmark Supreme Court ruling, which also means a trial into his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election is further postponed. In other news, Hurricane Beryl continues to barrel its way through the Gulf of Mexico, having wreaked devastation and caused casualties in the Caribbean. Here's Nick Harper.
It's causing incredible damage, sweeping away homes, destroying infrastructure. It's passed through Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Many there are now without power, and the Prime Minister of one of the islands has described immense destruction, with around 90% of the houses either damaged or simply destroyed. The World Meteorological Organization is warning that Beryl is setting a very dangerous tone for the upcoming hurricane season.
In India, dozens are dead after flooding in the northeastern state of Assam, and further west in Uttar Pradesh, more than 100 people were killed in a stampede at a religious event. Police have made arrests. Lastly, back to the UK, where American singer Sabrina Carpenter has broken a chart record, becoming the first female artist to hold both the number 1 and number 2 positions for 3 consecutive weeks. Please, Please, Please remained in top spot, while her previous single, Espresso, held on at number 2. The Beatles achieved the same feat all the way back in the 1960s. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
California is reeling from Super Rainbow Percival, which left a trail of devastation along the West Coast. A luminous band of destruction touched down in Santa Barbara. Percival set a record as the most powerful rainbow in U.S. history, with at least 30 confirmed fatalities and damage estimates in the billions. The vividly saturated colors seared through homes and roads, charring everything in its path. Those exposed to the rainbow's fury say they're lucky to be alive.
The sky was completely blue. All of a sudden, it's filled with brilliant hues of red and indigo.
All I can say is when I was a kid, rainbows didn't cut people in half.
Meteorologists say that Percival is just the latest in a pattern of increasingly dangerous rainbows, and that they're only growing stronger as global temperatures rise. Percival also comes on the heels of some extreme weather phenomena overseas. Authorities in the Philippines are still searching for thousands in the aftermath of mega sunset Wilma.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call in at 603-283-6160. Bring up what you would like to talk about. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts, hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny Liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. We're going to go to the phones. We have an unscreened caller in Utah. Unscreened caller. What would you like to talk about?
It's your boy.
Oh, hi, Skeeter.
Capitalist.
What do you want to yell at us
Skeeter
about?
Hazlitt. This is Skeeter Hazlitt. I'm here to debunk all of Austrian economics in one lesson.
Okay.
Hey, Laura, you hate simple thinking, but you adopt the simplest idea that nap is a good moral theory. But I'm here to debunk Austrian economics, all of it.
Okay.
Praxeology, subjective theory of value, value-free economics, ECP, economic calculation problem, Austrian business cycle theory, taxation is theft, and especially the embarrassing logical fallacy of argumentation ethics.
You and
All
your
of it is
simple
ad crap.
belief that 2 + 2 = 4. Skeeter's here to tell you better.
I hope you're not equating arithmetic to this crap. This crap
I am.
is nonsensical and fallacious. You know that, right? You know
I
how
know that you
embarrassing
believe that,
argument-
or at least that you claim to believe that.
Well,
I mean, I have heard the accusation that you're actually on our side and making terrible straw man arguments every day.
No, that's not true.
Let's get this straight. You're my biggest. You guys are my biggest enemy because you guys are the most dangerous theory out there because you are a fake representation of pure capitalism. And let me tell you something, Lori, it's not power that corrupts. It's when you deviate from the profit motive that corrupts, like anarcho-capitalism. And that's what makes you guys the most evil. You guys are insidious. The damage you cause is hidden in the form of opportunity costs instead of explicit losses like in democracy or socialism or communism. You can clearly see the losses that society incurs due to
No,
their
we're
projects.
so
they undertake.
dangerous. We keep trying to distribute power among as widely as possible.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous.
Give power to the individual.
We're so dangerous for saying. We're so dangerous for saying. Hey, people should be like free to make their own choices and not aggress upon each other. That is so much more dangerous than
How's that dangerous?
blowing
That is
up
dangerous.
kids in other
Because
countries.
You have to realize people's actions have consequences. It's called externalities. This is what libertarianism doesn't address, right? So
Wrong.
in libertarianism, the biggest inefficiency is the evolution controls the economy. Evolution programmed us. Evolution dictates what morality is. And it wants the economy to allocate resources to those who best use it for society.
Oh, this,
And
by
you
the way, is
cannot
how
have-
mystery religions work. When you have a disembodied force, in this case, it's evolution, but you can have pretty much anything. And once you worship it as this, all-controlling, mysterious thing, then you can just tell everyone how important it is and that they really need to also worship the thing that you worship.
So the problem with saying that the market.
Hold on. Okay. Let's look at Peakless for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
He's delusional because he adopts praxeology instead of looking at the progress that academics has made in human action with game theory. Game theory has, praxeology was never
I think you
adopted by
lost everybody now.
academics.
Is anyone following him?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so Austrian economics, you agree to this. They adopt praxeology, which is all bullcrap, to explain human action, right? But
what's praxeology?
It's the false study of human action. It's just whatever you do.
Well, then by your definition, I would have to say no. It does not adopt praxeology.
Okay, what's the definition of praxeology?
You're the one that brought it up. I don't talk about praxeology. I use simple terms.
You're claiming I'm wrong. Now point to me where I'm wrong.
It does not adopt a false anything, actually.
No. I added that myself because that
you sure did.
Because I can compare it to game theory. I can compare it to valid mathematical
but can you do so in a way that anyone has an idea what you're talking about?
So it doesn't even matter. Skeeter tries to say that the market favors those who are doing it right, or whatever Skeeter says, but the market is artificial because of government bureaucratic protections. Artificial because of government bureaucratic
Selection
protections.
process artificial. There's nothing artificial about the natural selection process.
It's not natural selection.
It will select for the most efficient system.
Incorrect.
And that is absolutely. There's nothing subjective about that. There's no subjective value here. That natural selection process determines objective value. It holds you responsible for all your choices, the choices you choose, and it deals out the consequences based upon your stupid choices.
Yes,
especially when you adopt stupid theory like libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism.
The problem with that is the stupid choices are being made by bureaucrats in the government, and the people who are paying the price for it are the people. And not the government and not the corporations, because they're sitting in a room somewhere shaking hands with each other.
And basically, here's the problem. You're absolutely right. That is the issue, is that the people carrying out the decisions and thus facing the consequences of those decisions are different from the people who actually make them.
You guys have misidentified the problem here. You think it's just aggression, which they're not.
No, aggression is absolutely the problem.
Rothbard has created a false victimhood mentality with you guys, just like Marx did with commies. He made them think wages are theft or slavery, and Rothbard did the same thing. He created this false narrative that taxation is theft, that you guys are not free, that you guys are somehow
okay.
slaves,
Hold on. So hold on. No. Stop.
Primeless victims.
Okay,
go ahead.
So, is taxation theft? Let's examine this. So, what does theft look like? So, like, either it's sneaky thief, you don't know I'm doing it, but I grabbed this thing that is yours, and it's mine now. Mm-hmm. Or it's, being mugged.
Right.
Now, really what we're talking about is extortion. But extortion is a kind of theft. But, monosyllabic expressions are a lot quicker and punchier, so we like taxation as theft. But really what it is you're being mugged. Mm-hmm. They're saying, do this or I will hurt you. Give me your money, and in fact, also give me your time and attention so that you do the thing where you put all of your work into finding out how much you owe me. And then give me your money. And maybe if you do those things, I won't put you in jail.
Skeeter, I have a question before I take you off of hold, because you'll just yell before I can get it out. Do you think that other people are owed other people's work and what's the word I'm looking for?
life's blood, attention.
Life's blood. Yeah, my
Time,
efforts. Do you think my efforts are yours to own?
Yes.
You do?
Yep.
Yes.
That's insane.
Let me tell you. Let me ask you something.
So honest,
Chris.
Skeeter.
No. Look, it's not theft, right? Our HOA fees.
It's not theft. You owe it to me.
Yeah.
So here.
It naturally belongs to me because evolution.
You muted me. Now let me talk.
Yep.
So I told Loy this the other day, right? You're missing things in your theory of that taxation is theft. First, you have to have a just claim on the land that you claim to be aggressed upon, right? You don't. This is already owned by the collective.
So
before you
wrong,
were
actually.
born.
You don't actually have to have a just claim on the land. In fact,
Yes, you do.
undeveloped
Because
land, no one has a just claim on.
I was muted. Can you mute him? I was muted. Now,
I can't mute him, but
I can.
Here's the thing. Wait, hold on. Let me just mention the two things you're missing before you criticize one of them.
Maybe.
First, you're missing the right to the land, and you acquired all your rights to the land where you're living because the collective grants you that authority. And then number two, you're allowed to leave number two, which is all that's owed to you when
Also
you're born on
false.
collective property.
Also false.
go
So
How does the collective grant anyone authority? That's my question.
Yeah, they have
It's
this
like
way
an
of like
HOA.
giving you things that they don't
Okay.
actually have. It's magic
What do
because
you mean they don't
evolution.
actually have?
Okay, so
What do you mean they
let's
don't-
start let's
have
start
you
with your
looked at the
first
national
claim.
defense here that protects it?
Skeeter. Let's start with your
Have
claim.
you ever tried getting land in Canada? Try to do that.
So Skeeter, a person cannot have a rightful claim to nature. That's how rights
What do you mean? It's
and
homesteading.
property work.
Isn't protection? Isn't
well, hey,
protection
he
a
let you
valid
talk.
form of homesteading?
Skeeter, he let you talk. Let him talk.
So
I
you
did. I
gain
heard the
a
question.
right to a thing
just
by
answered
mixing labor with nature. That's the only way.
Is the national defense mixing labor?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the only way that you can ever own anything in the first place, with which you can do what you want, you can sell it, you can trade it, you can give it. But the way you own it in the first place is you take a piece of nature, like undeveloped land, which no one owns because it's nature, or, air, and then you mix your labor with it. And then, if you do something awesome, then you get to profit from it. And if you do something terrible, then you have to come to account for what you've done.
Beyond even property rights that he loves to argue about, when I go and I use my energy and labor to create something myself, all by myself, with nobody else, like work, they want a piece of my effort. So do they also own all the people? Are we all property?
Well, yes. Yeah, that is naturally what he's saying. Is that since it is them
It's a
who is
collective.
securing the land, since
Did
they're
you
securing the
guys fight
land,
a
they
revolution?
own all the people on it.
Did you guys fight a revolution? Do you guys supply the national defense? Did you create the infrastructure that makes your land valuable? Did you create all the roads, satellite infrastructure, all the transportation infrastructure that makes your land valuable? You can go try to fight your own revolution and do all the hard work, build the infrastructure from the ground up. You can leave and do that. And then you own the land.
Can't.
Until then, this collective, which you are a part of, which you are granted membership of at birth, and you are allowed to leave at any time you want. Any time, and you don't.
I'm going to come to your house. Skeeter?
That's why you don't have a right to this land. It is already collectively owned and defended it and developed through infrastructure, roads, and everything.
Hey,
all of that was done by the citizenry, and this is a group.
Goodness,
this is group membership.
Now you
and
know
it's
why
all
we have to mute him
voluntary because
every single time.
Skeeter, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to sit outside with a gun and I'm going to protect your house. And you got to pay me $20 every hour to come give you a thing that you didn't ask me for.
Did you build my house?
Did you build your house? Did you build your house? Did you build your house?
Did you build?
Did you build your house?
Defense for my house? Do you protect me from
I'm gonna come protect you with my gun, and you gotta pay me for it.
And if you'd like, I can provide the threat that she'll protect you from.
Yeah, Nicholas can stand around and yell that he's gonna come break in.
And I will only offer a threat that she can protect you from.
That's right,
As
only
long
me.
as she is protecting you, I won't threaten your home. But if
you gotta pay
she's
me.
not there, then you got to be worried about what I'm going to do. Does that sound
give
good?
me a vote?
Then it won't be. Then it won't be
Do you show
theft.
me all your accounting books?
Sure, I'll show you that I take
Do you give me
$20
all
every hour. You can
accounting
look.
books?
Right?
Yeah, you can look.
No,
Every time you ask to look,
but
though,
more
it's going to
importantly-
cost you. You have to pay me
Oh,
to
of
show
course.
you.
Of course. And
No,
it's
no,
going to
this-
reduce your
this-
credit rating.
Yeah.
This collective is ours, right?
And
just
we
like an
might have
HOA.
state secrets that we
Peakless.
can't let you know
Hold on.
all of what we
Peakless.
spent the money on.
Peakless, you gotta let him stop talking over Peakless. So if, in theory, right, let's say we're in Ancapistan and there's a HOA, right, and there's a baby, you are born into this HOA. What does this HOA owe to you? Do they owe it to you to let you stay on their land, tax HOA free, and leave you alone? Or do they have the right to charge you fees based upon proportional to your income because they have to pay for all the infrastructure that they feel that is necessary for the HOA to continue? What do they owe you? Tell me.
They owe me nothing. However, the way that let me finish.
Right to their land.
All right. However, the way that reality works is that as civilized-ish humans, we figure out this idea where, since humans come in completely incompetent, we set up a system where everyone gets a trustee. And we really work this out before you get here is how we try to do it. And usually those trustees are your mom and your dad. So whatever they have worked out with this homeowners association is what the homeowners association owes them. And then they will do their job, their contractually obligated job of keeping you not dead, of keeping you fed and safe and, hopefully bringing out some abilities in you. So while you have no agreement with the homeowners agreement, your parents very well might. But when the homeowners agreement says, okay, now you need to give me your newborn's left toe, just because that's what we do in this homeowners association, then no, that's wrong. You don't actually owe them any part of your child.
Yeah, and it's a silly comparison because a homeowners association is something you agree to actively.
Right.
You actively agree to join a homeowners association.
He did say if you are born into...
That's not a real thing. Just because you're born in a homeowners association doesn't mean that the day you turn 18 and you gain independence from your parents, you have also signed the contract and now you are beholden to the HOA. That's not how it works. But that's how it works in the United States government. In their eyes, they own you already because you happened to be born.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with the government is they claim a monopoly ownership over you and no one else can except...
No, they don't. They don't.
No, yes, they do, dude.
Oh, yeah. And not only, and the U.S. is especially bad because even if you leave, you still owe them everything.
They'll still come after you with their absolute terrorizing guns.
No, they don't. But you didn't even answer my question. You never even answered what the HOA owes to a natural-born baby on the collective's land.
Which is exactly the same thing that a natural-born baby owes to the HOA. Nothing. They have no contract.
They do owe something. No. They do owe something to the kid, right?
So like a disembodied spirit can make contracts. That's very interesting, Skeeter.
It's a negative right. They need to, under libertarian framework, they need to allow him to leave, and that's all they owe him, right? Right?
Well, so like all things in civilization, you're just not allowed to initiate violence. You're not allowed to steal or hurt people. And that's what we all owe everyone all of the time.
So that includes allowing them to. That's all they. So if they didn't allow him to leave, so all they need to do.
Yeah, if they didn't allow him to leave, that would be one of the infinite set of ways that they could aggress upon him.
Hey, I have a real story for you, Skeeter.
Hold on.
Okay.
And if he chooses to stay, they can charge him HOA fees against his will, right? He doesn't have the right to stay there and not pay anything out of what he makes in that HOA, right? Right?
That very much depends on the specific circumstances.
I have a story for you,
Skeeter. I just
Skeeter.
gave you the circumstances. What's so unclear about that?
Listen, can I tell you?
This is Ancapistan. This is an HOA. The collective already owned this piece of land, and they distribute voting rights to the owners and whoever lives there, let's say, and they charge fees proportional on everyone's income. Now, babies born there, they allow them to leave.
Do you think a homeowners association, when you can choose which one you're a member to, will be effective if it forces these things on newborns? Or do you think that a homeowners association that doesn't force these things on newborns will be more effective in the marketplace?
They don't force anything on them. When he grows up, he becomes a dirty, unproductive ANCAP, which makes minimum wage, and he complains about HOA fees. Does he have a right to complain about those HOA fees when he's allowed to leave?
Does he have a right to complain? Yes.
Yeah, of course he does.
He still owns his mouth.
He does.
He still owns his mouth. That's correct, Skeeter. I know it's a wild idea, but even when you're in someone's house, you get to talk. It's wild.
All right, Skeeter.
No, you don't. You don't get to talk. You play by the homeowner. The owner of the property is the government. They are the government. They set the rules.
Who is the government?
You know what's amazing about Skeeter is that there is someone like him in a think tank that is actively causing policy somewhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
That's what Picos does. He's the evasion mountaineer. He doesn't answer direct questions because he's cornered. He can't answer this.
I've answered every direct question.
You just talk in circles.
And it shows the analogy. You guys are false victims. You guys are crybaby-tarians. You guys aren't being.
Then why do you keep calling into this show?
You deserve to be taxed.
All right. Thanks for the call, Skeeter. So I'm gonna tell a story now that Skeeter's off the line real quick about how Skeeter is insistent that everyone can leave. There was this kid who witnessed a murder. Or not a murder, a guy get picked up by the cops who was then found murdered in an alleyway with no in-between story. And he was supposed to be a
So
witness.
he witnessed an abduction that happened directly before the murder of that person.
Yeah, by the
and
police.
No accountant between the two. Pretty obvious what happened.
Right. So he's supposed to be a witness in the case upcoming, right?
Right.
And the police pull over a car full of people. He is one of them. He's a 14-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs, and the cops shoot him for running from a traffic stop. I mean, they don't let you leave. He tried to leave before this. He didn't want to be there. He was on probation, and he wanted to leave the city because he's like, this place is dangerous for me. And they said, you absolutely cannot leave.
Yeah,
you can't even leave the city.
That's the thing. People never imagine that being arrested might lead to you being killed.
Just getting pulled over could lead to you killed.
But that is the risk. If they arrest you, the whole point is to make you powerless. Mm-hmm. And whether it is agreed upon by a whole group or just one random agent, once you're powerless, they can easily end your life. And depending on circumstances, they'll probably get away with it.
So my whole thing, though, is they wouldn't even let this kid leave the city, never mind the country.
Right.
So everyone can't just up and leave like Skeeter thinks. He's living in a fantasy that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the very definition of it, you can't get out of here without a passport.
Right.
And the government is not
fees
HOA. HOAs are usually voluntary organizations, usually.
Yeah, that's literally the difference between them, is that HOAs don't get to pull you over for speeding and say, I don't like how you were driving.
Yeah.
You can now either pay me $50 or I will abduct you and torture you.
Yeah, also the HOA can't say, well, we want a cut of all the money that you made before you turned 18 and now you want to leave. And we also want you to have all of these papers filled out so that you can leave the HOA. No, you just get to leave because it's a voluntary interaction, not like the government.
Yeah, last I checked, homeowners associations do not go to war with each other and then conscript their members and say, we're going to enslave you so that you can murder other people, because they're in a different HOA.
That's right. All right, we got another caller. Unscreened caller. What would you like to talk about? Hi.
Hi, ma'am. I would just like to talk about, are we allowed to get political in here, or?
Yes.
Actually, we should probably, can you...
Oh, hold on.
I just wanted to say we're about to the end of the segment, so can you introduce the idea and we'll come back to it after the break?
Yeah, what would you like to talk about? And then we're going to put you on hold and come back when we get back.
I want to talk about the recent debate currently with Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Absolutely. We should definitely get into that.
Oh, yeah. We should do it.
All right. I'll be ready whenever y'all are.
Okay. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, so it's been a while that CNN has been poking at the idea that he's been incompetent, and then this happened, and now I don't know what memo went out, but it apparently became impossible to deny that he is demented.
That's why they wouldn't shut off that's why they wouldn't
allow Trump to
interrupt him so that it could all get out there.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Free Talk Live 603-283-6160. More coming up.
Markets went into a frenzy today after the price of money suddenly skyrocketed to $90 a dollar. Onion reporters spoke to economics professor Mark Cosgrave about the soaring cost of U.S. currency and the impact of increasingly unpredictable dollar-to-dollar rates.
Right now, money prices are steeply rising with no signs of slowing down. This morning alone, the price of dollars nearly tripled, with 1 cent worth approximately $6. That's exponentially higher than even a week ago when money was trading at roughly $53 on the dollar. To put it bluntly, we're now in the midst of a national economic crisis.
According to Cosgrave, the abrupt spike in dollar prices initially caused many Americans to hold on to their money, hoping that the $90 cost of dollars would soon dip back down. But as prices continued to climb, investors panicked and began purchasing as much money as possible.
But with the cost of quarters hitting $4.97 and the $5 bill jumping to a 12-year high of $372, the days when you could get $30 or $40 for just a couple of bucks are unfortunately long gone.
This is the Onion News Network.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Hire with your Week in Review, a roundup of what's been making headlines around the world these past days.
Now our country has voted for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
And we start this week in the UK, where the British people delivered an overwhelming call for change as the Labour Party took control of government following a landslide election victory. It ends 14 years of Conservative rule. Ollie Barrett was following a historic election night from outside Parliament in London.
The changeover in British politics is brutal. Hours after conceding defeat in the election, Rishi Sunak leaves Downing Street and Keir Starmer enters number 10. He will have to spend the next few days putting together a new cabinet, a government that can run the country with the sizable majority that he has secured in the House of Commons. Huge challenges ahead for that government. Huge challenges also ahead for the Conservatives after this rout at the ballot box. Some in the party think they've abandoned their base and should turn right. Others think they've abandoned the centre ground and should move in that direction. There are battles ahead.
Elections globally. Iranians took part on Friday in a runoff presidential vote, and the French are heading to the polls again this weekend for the second round of the general election. In the United States, the election is still 4 months away, but already President Joe Biden is fighting for his political future on the campaign trail as he seeks to allay concerns over his age and mental acuity amid a shaky debate performance last week, which sparked intense deliberations about whether he should step aside and give up the nomination. Caroline Malone reports.
Joe Biden has admitted the debate wasn't a good night for him, but he insists he's still the best person to beat Donald Trump in the US election. "I'm not going anywhere," he told military service people and families at the White House on July 4th. That's the same messaging he'd given governors on Wednesday. But polls show he's slipping further behind his Republican rival, particularly in swing states. The latest data suggests as many as 80% of people in the US think Biden is too old to be president again.
Joe Biden is 81. That's 3 years older than Donald Trump, whose sentencing has been postponed because of the United States Supreme Court's controversial decision to provide criminal immunity for US presidents. He was due to appear in court in New York this coming Thursday, having been convicted for falsifying business records to cover up an affair with a porn star, a guilty verdict Trump says he'll appeal. But the judge confirmed the sentencing is now officially delayed until mid-September, after Trump argued his conviction should be overturned due to Monday's landmark Supreme Court ruling. From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control, 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. In the studio, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Beakless Mountaineer.
And we are going to go back to the phones to our caller who wants to talk about the debate. Caller, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
We can.
Yes, I would like to talk about this debate.
Okay.
So honestly, I feel like none of those two should be running for president, but I believe Kanye West would be a good candidate.
He probably would be after this circus.
I mean,
so when he's on his employees, so when he's abusive towards his wife.
So what? No, I don't think Kanye would make a good president at all.
Do you think he would actually be a better candidate, or do you just think he'd be more fun?
No, I believe he'd be a good candidate.
So
why?
Look, hear me out, guys.
Okay, hearing.
Have you guys ever heard of the Graduation album?
No.
Well, it's peak. Well, you guys are old heads. Like, y'all wouldn't understand.
We are old, yeah.
But coming from a young perspective, I believe Kanye is perfect to run for president. Like, he makes good music. He's likable. So, like, he might be a part of the Illuminati, but then, like, who isn't nowadays?
So hold on. Let me make sure I've got your argument. People who make good music are better presidents.
I mean, can you imagine?
Yes, I believe that.
The music for, like, the State of the Union address would be, like, off.
That's true.
Great.
I'm pretty sure that he would, like, revolutionize our national anthem.
Mm-hmm. Everyone would be wearing. Oh my gosh, we could get like the black shapeless blob people.
Yeah, you could get like the like voice changers inside the GIMP mask.
He would definitely be with that. I'm sure.
It's true. He could be the end of racism.
The end of racism.
Here's another opinion I'm having too. The anthem, it's just bad. I don't like it. Dude, it's crazy how the North Korea anthem is so much better than ours. It's crazy how like revolutionized communism is compared to America.
So you think that because people like Kanye, but I don't know if that's even true.
That's basically false.
I think people think that Kanye is insane.
He probably is.
But
that's the thing, though.
But I mean, Trump and Biden are also insane.
That think that.
So I think that what happened to Kanye is basically what happens when you lose your wife and child.
Mm-hmm. He was insane.
No, I don't believe that at all. If you listen to all his albums, there's a story right there.
I will
there's
not.
Like the College Dropout albums. Also, you just gotta listen to it.
I gotta say the payoff is not worth the investment for that.
It's true. Like, anything else, caller?
Yeah, that's pretty predictable.
Yep.
Yeah, troll's gonna troll.
That's all right. We have a dump button for a reason.
That is why we have a dump button.
Yeah. All right, so back to your story that we were talking about. Monsanto wanting everyone to eat their glyphosate and being upset that Mexico said, we're not going to feed glyphosate to our people. And so they said, we're going to sue you into eating glyphosate.
So the legal battle brought forth by Bayer included more than 30 judicial protective order suits in an attempt to declare the decree unconstitutional. But the majority of the cases, quote, concluded with rulings favorable to the corporations involved after CONACYT, which is the National Council on Humanities, Sciences, and Technologies, provided scientific and legal defenses presenting more than 250 pieces of evidence to support the decree, Mexico News Daily reported. CONACYT replaced the 2020 decree with a 2023 decree.
Oh, wow.
By which additional restrictions on genetically modified corn were added to the initial ban. And good for them.
Yeah.
Bayer tried to suspend the 2023 decree, but the 4-year legal battle came to an end on June 25th when Monsanto's subsidiaries, Semillas y Agroproductos Monsanto and Monsanto Comercial, ratified their withdrawal, Mexico News Daily reported. Monsanto, owned by Bayer after the German company acquired Monsanto in a $63 billion deal in 2018, produces the herbicide Roundup, a glyphosate-based product that is used in the cultivation of genetically modified organisms such as Roundup-ready corn, cotton, and soybeans. And in case anyone out there doesn't know what Roundup-ready means, so they changed the genes of, corn, soybeans, cotton, so that they literally cannot go through their life processes unless glyphosate is present.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is part of the nightmare of them dumping these on other farmers' fields and, destroying the crops that are there with their genetically modified garbage, is that once they've, put all of this pollen out there, whatever got seeded with this horrible pollen will not grow unless you spray poison on it.
Yeah, that's that whole free market thing that Skeeter was talking about. How the best choices win, right?
Yeah, the best choice.
Plants that just will not grow unless they're Monsanto branded.
Yeah,
Roundup plants.
Well, it's evolutionary. They used more force, and they kill everyone who
they
is
got
against
embarrassed
them.
a few politicians and paid them off.
Yeah, just kill everyone. It's fine. That is good for the economy.
Oh,
Kill
yeah, so
everyone.
good for the economy.
Market
Kill everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody must die.
Yeah, it's one of the saddest things in the world to me that it keeps working. That if you get a corporation to do a thing, you then pretend that it was just people doing stuff.
Yeah.
That's not how this works at all.
If everybody didn't want Roundup Ready corn, it wouldn't even exist.
Right?
If everyone wasn't like, wow, I love to just eat Roundup every morning on my cereal. It makes me feel good inside my body, and all my tumors are running at 100%. Then it wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because there's no such thing as government intervention and protections.
Well, and it's the same lie from both directions. So on the right, they say, this is market activity. This is just what the people wanted. And on the left, they say, the government is responsible to its constituency, and if this wasn't what voters wanted, then it isn't the policies that they would put forward.
Yeah, because they're all the same guy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're all the same guy.
Hey, that is a stylistic shift that is worth paying attention to.
I'm sorry. They're all Vince McMahon. And then on one side it's the foot and one side it's the faces, and they're all just doing what Vince McMahon tells them to do.
That's true.
That's it. But in the end, they're Vince. Unscreened caller in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. Hi. This is Dana. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Dana.
I called. I want to jump back to something that Peakless, I got a couple comments that Peakless brought up. He referred to Barack Obama as the first black president. That's because that's what Michelle told him to refer to himself as. And nobody crosses Michelle Obama. If they thought Barack was bad and his 8-year presidency was awful, and that's why Trump happened because of Obama, his wife is to the nth degree much more radical than he is. So if anyone thinks she's such a wonderful human being, there are tons of stories out there, but you really got to dig because Google does an excellent job of covering them up. He is a biracial man. His mother was white, his dad was black, his dad didn't even care about him. He was self-serving, left the family, went back to Africa, became an alcoholic, killed someone when he was drunk, and then he was a very self-serving person. All he cared about in Africa was being the big man on campus. He was running for political office, and he was a loser. He never won. He was horrible. The only people Barack knew who he's never given credit to is his white mom, who shipped him back to Hawaii after she remarried her second husband, and his white grandparents, her parents who raised him. But he runs around. Now, if you want to identify as completely black, that's fine. That's your deal. But I'm a realist. That man's biracial, and he did great harm to the biracial community. They were not happy with him saying that. So
they should have been a bigger voting bloc.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean,
agree.
hold on. I got to push back on the idea that he wouldn't have called himself a black president if it hadn't been for Michelle Obama. That's just the obvious political move. Do you want to tap into a barely cohesive community of biracial people, or do you want to tap into over 10% of the population of the country? And the half of the country that feels a need to defend them? Because I got to tell you, the people on the left really don't care that much about defending people who are half white, but they do care a lot about defending black people.
I was saying that a bit of tongue-in-cheek, Peakless, and because we've talked before, I thought you would catch on to my sarcasm, because she runs that house. She wears the pants in that family. That's the point I was trying to make. Now, the second pushback I want is also has to do with Peakless. And Lori, I have a compliment for you. I'll save that for the last. The second thing I wanted to say is Peakless mentioned that all the Trump supporters should be very happy about the Patriot Act because they were so Patriot Act. First of all, there were no Trump supporters because there was no Trump when Bush first came up with this idea. There were two men and one female. I just happened to catch a show. It was a political talk show, and they were guests on the talk show, and they were part of crafting the initial Patriot Act, and they warned Bush that depending on the administration, this could go awry. But people in the country on both the left and the right were pro-Patriot Act because they were so terrified at the horror that they witnessed every single night on their television.
Yeah, no, hold on. I got to stop you there. So
okay,
I was on the
done.
left at the time, and there was no one on the left who supported this publicly or privately. And all of the people who not all of the people, but the vast majority of the people who currently support Trump were Republicans at the time, and they did support Bush.
Okay, I don't disagree with some of what you said, but I know for a fact the part of the Democrats, there were many Democrats. There weren't the progressives they are now. There were many Democrats that were center or center left or somewhere in between, moderate and these really far left people. And they were just as terrified as people on the right. And I do agree with the part where you said they were formerly Republicans and they did support that, but people were terrified. But let me tell you something. That initial Patriot Act, as bad as it was, Peakless, was nothing compared to what Obama did to it when he got in office. He raised
which he couldn't have done if it wasn't there.
I agree with that. He raised that to the nth degree, and I want to remind you that the data center where Obama repeatedly lied to the American people, saying no, we're only spying on terrorists, but they've collected all of our phone calls, all of our text messages, all of our emails. It's at that Utah data center. That data center began construction in Obama's first term and was completed in mid-second term. So this is an Obama thing. But
hold on. So now, what this shows is exactly what Lori's been pointing out, is that there is no difference. Like, you cannot tell me where the Bush policies ended and the Obama policies began, because they are identical.
Yeah, they're all stepping
stones. They're all wings of the same bird.
Right. It was just another couple of terms for the Bush policies.
I agree with both of you on that point, and I agree with if it wasn't there, it couldn't have been made worse. But you put it, when you made this statement, what I took issue with is you dumped it all on Trump supporters, and you also blame Bush for it. Obama radicalized that like nobody even believed anyone would dare do it lest they not get voted out of office.
If Obama hadn't done that, they still would have used all of these enhanced powers to spy on Trump. Even if somehow you'd gotten someone who was not as evil as Obama, they still would have used those powers, that rubber stamp, to bypass the whole warrant thing and spy on Trump, even if it hadn't been expanded.
And I agree. What I had issue with was I didn't hear the word Obama. It was just Bush that started it and Trump supporters that backed it. And that's what I had an issue with. Whereas that in-between things, that in between presidency, the administration of Obama is where things went crazy.
Okay.
Crazy
So the reason that I didn't mention Obama is what I was trying to point out with this is that the powers that you give the government to use against your enemy will be used against you. That was my point.
I get that. No,
so
I get
those
that,
powers,
powers
that were those sweeping government powers that came in with 9/11 were in fact exactly what gave them the power to spy on Trump.
I think that regardless of who was after Bush, whether it was Obama or anybody else, it's still, the steps still would have been taken to whittle away at the rights, because that's all they do constantly.
Of course,
all
they
of
do.
these things are just a step to the next injustice.
Yeah, and as the right gains power, we will watch the same thing play out, where a bunch of powers that the people on the left gave the government will now be used against the people on the left. Lather, rinse, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. And Lori, I just want to say to you, thank you so much for pushing back on Riley when he blamed the religious for coming after the gay community. I am so sick to death. That is just like fat people. That is one area where you can beat up on people. Now Christians aren't just Christians, they're Christian nationalists, because that evokes some Hitler-esque type ideas in their head. Nobody cares, just like you said, Lori, you said it just beautifully. Nobody cares who you sleep with. But when you shove your crap down my throat and in my kids' schools and take down our American flag and put up that rainbow flag, which they co-opted, the color spectrum, for their flag. But when you say you must not only agree with my lifestyle, you must promote it. That's where people drew the line. It is not the religious. It's even gays themselves. The vast majority of gays want to have families. They want to have good jobs. They want to be able to pay for food and put their kids in good schools. They don't like this radicalization.
I'm sure a lot of them don't.
It's true. The founder of Pride, the guy who started the whole Pride movement, like there was one guy, I forget his name, but the Pride parades.
Milk?
Some guy. So he came out and said that he doesn't think that the gay people should be part of it anymore because it's been co-opted to be something that it wasn't originally intended to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure it hasn't.
I'm so grateful that you pushed back when Riley said that, because I am so sick of the religious getting beat up. I'm just tired of it, and nobody cares. It's the churches that are places not only for saved but for sinners.
Well so hold on. So here's the thing, Dana. Like
let me finish my point. Every denomination that I'm aware of, everybody opens their doors to gays, but you just like with straight people, you can't shack up together. That's a sin. You can't have premarital sex. That's fornication. Sin is sin, and nobody wants to call it out lest you be called homophobic.
Okay,
but that's an opinion of the church, though, too. And I also am not for that.
So number
tribe.
one, that is new. Like the acceptance of married gay people is pretty new.
Oh yeah, it is.
So number two, like you're losing the point, because you were on it when it's like, yes, you have to avoid harming people for these things, but you also have to avoid forcing your agenda on them. Like, yes, on the left, they have to stop forcing the gay agenda on the right, in the same way that, especially 20 years ago, but still to some extent now, there are people on the right who are saying we need to have the 10 Commandments in school.
Right, that too. Everybody
that is their
should
version
stop.
of forcing their agenda on them.
Right.
And it's the same maneuver with different flavoring.
Right, it's all the tribes insisting that everyone listen to their tribe because they're the only right tribe. Stop it with the tribes. If you want to have a tribe, that's fine. Keep your tribalism in your own little tribe, and don't tell anybody else what you guys want everyone else to do. Just do what you want to do, and don't try to dictate anyone else's life.
Right.
Everybody should just be free to do whatever they want as long as it's not hurting anyone.
Well, I would disagree with saying that the Ten Commandments that they're trying to instill in schools is a thing of the right, because the Ten Commandments, along with English law, is where we got our laws from. And our founders were not considered, our founders were not considered conservative.
There is no part of our legal system that says thou shalt not have any God before me.
And
that's literally the first commandment. In fact, we have a thing saying it's none of your business. That's the First Amendment.
That's true.
You're wrong about that. It does not say that. It says that the government shall not establish a national religion. It doesn't say anything about separating church and state.
I also don't see the point of having the Ten Commandments. Why does a first grader need to know that you shouldn't be adultering? What does it have to do with the education system?
I think that the reasoning behind this is what I believe historically, because when public school, look, I was blessed. I had 12 years of private education, a very good private education, and one of my college degrees is from a private, not just private, I should tell you, full disclosure, it was private religious. And one of my college degrees was from a private religious college also. That being said, is when the Ten Commandments were in the public schools of my neighbor friends who couldn't afford to go to private school or didn't go, things were different. Times were different when we were constantly reminded, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Maybe the Ten Commandments, the way they're written, isn't the way to go, but they need a lot more of what the kids should be doing. They wonder why there's kids shooting up kids, why the suicide rate is higher than no other time in history, and specifically in our country. There's a reason for that.
Because we're putting them in public schools and drugging them.
Yes, that's the reason. The reason is because parents are not parenting their children. They're depending on the government to raise their kids and be indoctrinated by people they don't even know. You're handing your kids to strangers.
And people don't know what the meaning of life is anymore. They don't know how to find that meaning in life.
Yeah, and by the way, that is an aggression. You are abdicating your natural contracted right and responsibility as parents. You're supposed to raise them. And when you hand them over to a nightmarish empire, you are aggressing against them and us.
Yes. And it's fine. It's fine to have a baby and decide you don't want it. That's fine. But if you decide that you want to keep that baby, then do the whole thing. Have the baby, take care of the baby, teach the baby, hand
them to someone who will do that.
Right. If you're going to keep it, I'm saying, though, if you're going to keep the child, you need to provide the child with a proper education, not hand them the very first moment you get into strangers' care for literally the whole day. How much time do parents who put their kids in public school, how much time do they actually spend with their kids?
Right.
If, part of the day is sleeping, part of the day is in school, and then what do you get? Like or daycare. Like, what do you get? Like 4 hours with your kid a day?
It's a tiny, insignificant portion of their lives that parents raise their own children.
Yeah.
That's why they're all going insane and killing themselves.
Thank you for the call, Dana.
And thank you for remembering that I'm Peakless Mountaineer and not Richie Rich. I appreciate that.
It's Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. More coming up on Hour 3.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Haya with your Week in Review, a roundup of what's been making headlines around the world these past days.
Now our country has voted for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
And we start this week in the UK, where the British people delivered an overwhelming call for change as the Labour Party took control of government following a landslide election victory. It ends 14 years of Conservative rule. Ollie Barrett was following a historic election night from outside Parliament in London.
The changeover in British politics is brutal. Hours after conceding defeat in the election, Rishi Sunak leaves Downing Street and Keir Starmer enters number 10. He will have to spend the next few days putting together a new cabinet, a government that can run the country with the sizable majority that he has secured in the House of Commons. Huge challenges ahead for that government. Huge challenges also ahead for the Conservatives after this rout at the ballot box. Some in the party think they've abandoned their base and should turn right. Others think they've abandoned the centre ground and should move in that direction. There are battles ahead.
Elections globally. Iranians took part on Friday in a runoff presidential vote, and the French are heading to the polls again this weekend for the second round of the general election. But in days prior, candidates and activists were physically attacked. Ross Cullens in Paris.
Prisca Thévenot, an MP for Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance Party, was putting up election posters with her team when a group of people attacked them on the 3rd of July. On Friday, the Interior Minister said that at least 50 people had been subject to aggression ahead of the second round of the general election on Sunday. Some 30,000 police officers, including 5,000 in the capital, will be on duty on the 7th of July to try to respond to any unrest, which some politicians fear would break out in the case of a far-right victory.
In the United States, the election is still 4 months away, but already President Joe Biden is fighting for his political future on the campaign trail as he seeks to allay concerns over his age and mental acuity amid a shaky debate performance last week, which sparked intense deliberations about whether he should step aside and give up the nomination. Caroline Malone reports.
Joe Biden has admitted the debate wasn't a good night for him, but he insists he's still the best person to beat Donald Trump in the US election. "I'm not going anywhere," he told military service people and families at the White House on July 4th. That's the same messaging he'd given governors on Wednesday. But polls show he's slipping further behind his Republican rival, particularly in swing states. The latest data suggests as many as 80% of people in the US think Biden is too old to be president again.
Joe Biden is 81. That's 3 years older than Donald Trump, whose sentencing has been postponed because of the United States Supreme Court's controversial decision to provide criminal immunity for US presidents. He was due to appear in court in New York this coming Thursday, having been convicted for falsifying business records to cover up an affair with a porn star, a guilty verdict Trump says he'll appeal. But the judge confirmed the sentencing is now officially delayed until mid-September, after Trump argued his conviction should be overturned due to Monday's landmark Supreme Court ruling, which also means a trial into his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election is further postponed. In other news, Hurricane Beryl continues to barrel its way through the Gulf of Mexico, having wreaked devastation and caused casualties in the Caribbean. Here's Nick Harper.
It's causing incredible damage, sweeping away homes, destroying infrastructure. It's passed through Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Many there are now without power, and the Prime Minister of one of the islands has described immense destruction, with around 90% of the houses either damaged or simply destroyed. The World Meteorological Organization is warning that Beryl is setting a very dangerous tone for the upcoming hurricane season.
In India, dozens are dead after flooding in the northeastern state of Assam, and further west in Uttar Pradesh, more than 100 people were killed in a stampede at a religious event. Police have made arrests. Lastly, back to the UK, where American singer Sabrina Carpenter has broken a chart record, becoming the first female artist to hold both a number 1 and number 2 positions for 3 consecutive weeks. Please, Please, Please remained in top spot, while her previous single, Espresso, held on at number 2. The Beatles achieved the same feat all the way back in the 1960s. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
A man thanks God he's not sexually attracted to children, and Popeye's home is burglarized. Week in and week out, you come back like a housebroken Pomeranian, loyal to the bitter end. Good boy. This is the Onion Week in Review. Georgia's Cobb County Evangelical Hospital held its 5th annual Walk to Cure Gayness today, reportedly drawing thousands of participants to raise funds that would cure sufferers of their homosexuality and make gayness a thing of the past. Hospital administrators told reporters that funding from the walk would go into providing new state-of-the-art gayness treatment equipment, along with remodeling the hospital's physical therapy center, which has spent nearly 14 years reteaching gay men how to walk properly.
Oh God, I was a goner. But as you can see, I'm now happily married to a woman, and as of next month, I will have been in full remission for 2 whole years. I'm just so very, very happy. Everything's really good in my life.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. Call in at 603-283-6160. I would like to thank Jesse Cruz for being a silver level amplifier. What that means is that Jesse went to amps.freetalklive.com and helped support the show. And you can also do that at amps.freetalklive.com. And amps means amplify, market, promote, and support. So if you would like to support us, either silver, gold, platinum, or diamond level, we would appreciate it. Thank you, Jesse. Tonight on the show, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Peakless Mountaineer.
And you wanted to say something else about the 10 Commandments being the rule, the law for all.
Just a couple of quick things. So first off, it's just about not establishing a state religion. No, it's also about or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Mm-hmm. So right there, the whole "thou shalt have no other god before me." No, that is the opposite of what our legal system does. The whole "thou shalt not make any graven image of anything in heaven or in earth below or anything." You again, freedom of speech is literally your right to make a graven image of anything in heaven
Absolutely.
or below or wherever.
Isn't pledging your allegiance to the flag just straight up anti-Christian anyway, because you're, praying to the state?
I don't know if I'd put it that way, but I do know the Pledge of Allegiance is a socialist idea. I mean, the guy who came up with the Pledge of Allegiance was a socialist.
Was in fact a socialist. That's a fact.
Yes.
That's brainwashing.
Yeah, no,
the Pledge of Allegiance.
It is a pseudo-religion is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have all of these invisible powers that you must give your allegiance to, that you owe a duty to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, taxation isn't theft because you owe it to them. You owe it to society.
So when a man and a woman love each other, the government reaches inside of his testicles and pulls out the sperm and puts it into the egg. And so you must pledge your allegiance and give the government your taxes.
Oh, wow.
Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's what the eagle is doing. That's the actual stork. It's the eagle.
Got it.
Yeah, and like a couple of the commandments are about thou shalt not covet. No, there's no part of our legal system that even implies that you shouldn't covet.
No.
In fact, we kind of want you to want stuff.
Yeah.
It's how the economy works.
Right. Please covet.
In fact, I want all of your stuff, which is why I'm going to go earn something that's even better so that I can show it off to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that, the 10 Commandments are the foundation of our legal system. The 10 Commandments are exclusively and explicitly against our legal system in some parts. Now, I'll grant you, don't steal, don't kill people. That's in there.
I feel like those are no-brainers, though. I think that's in every...
Yeah.
Religion
Wouldn't you know that a tribe cannot survive unless you're not killing people
and stealing everything?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, thou shalt not steal is the utter fundament of all morality. Killing you is really just stealing your body. If I put a knife into your liver, I've just stolen part of your liver. That's kind of the problem, is I'm not allowed to use your liver without asking.
Are you sure? Skeeter says that you own part of my liver because we're
true.
A collective.
Right.
Oh, right. Well, Skeeter doesn't know anything, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. Also, the 10 Commandments, there's 10 Commandments. I used to know them because I was raised Catholic, but I can't remember them all anymore. I probably could if I sat down and traumatized myself again into the whole thing. But there's one about respecting your parents.
Yeah.
Honoring your father
thou
and
shalt
mother.
honor thy father and thy mother.
Yeah, which that's a bad rule anyway, because there's a lot of really bad parents out there that you should not be honoring.
Yeah.
Like the moms who let their kids die because they left them in a hot car, or shooting up smack on the couch while their kids were playing with their Legos. Those parents should not be honored.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Okay, so number one, we're talking about states of consciousness. So you cannot make a decent law about states of consciousness. It's part of why the whole hate crimes thing is such a bad idea.
Really?
Because I'm a man in a black robe, you see, who serves the will of the people, capital W, capital P, I get to determine what the content of your heart is. And because I've determined that you felt hate while you did this thing, you get extra punished.
That's right.
But I've determined that this person who performed the exact identical action did not feel hate at the time, and therefore they get a lesser sentence.
See, it's got to be hate if the other person just happens to be another color or religion or sexual orientation. Those are the only things with which you can commit a crime with hate in your heart. If somebody looks kind of the same as you and sleeps with the same people kind of thing, you can't hate them while you're committing the crime. You must be this guy's on my team, and so we're pals, but I'm just going to stab him for fun.
More and more, because, we used to have this sort of halfway in between where they kind of look like you, but they're Jewish, therefore it's a hate crime. And that is becoming less and less the case because of Palestine and Israel right now.
No, it's coming more and more the case because now you can't even say that what Israel is doing is wrong or you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, you're actually not allowed to say either of those things.
I saw an ad today for like a Jewish school, and the ad was like, "Are your kids' teachers talking about Palestinian genocide? Send them to our Jewish school so they don't have to hear that."
Oh, really? Interesting.
And I was like, whoa. So like telling people what's going on? Is that?
Yeah, and it is always in the interest of the power addicts to shut down conversation.
Yes.
And unfortunately, people put up with it some of the time. And one of the times that they put up with it that we've talked about earlier was when Obama became president. I couldn't say that this was a bad policy decision because obviously that's only because I'm racist that I would ever say that anything that this president did that was identical to my criticism of his predecessor. And in the same way, any criticism that I make of Benjamin Netanyahu couldn't possibly be out of anything except my anti-Semitism.
Do you know where all of that comes from? It's tribalism.
Yeah.
Indeed. And you've been mentioning tribalism all night. You don't like tribalism.
I don't like it. I think it's not useful. It was useful when people were like living in caves in actual tribes, but now that's not the thing.
What about this?
Okay.
I'm part of non-aggression principle tribe.
Okay.
How does that stand up against your anti-tribalism?
I still think that you don't need a tribe.
Oh, I disagree completely. No. This is exactly why I'm here in New Hampshire. It ain't because of the weather. Let me assure you of that.
I think...
I'm here because there is a possibility that at some point the people around me will protect my right to be peaceful.
So the thing... But that's not really a tribe. That
is a tribe.
It's being around people who have similar goals.
Right.
A tribe.
That's how tribalism works.
No.
Like similar values, the same culture.
Tribalism is when you side with your tribe, no matter how terrible the thing that they're saying or doing is. Like if somebody in the Liberty community does a terrible thing, I'm going to be
murder.
like, that's a terrible thing that you did, and I'm not going to associate with you simply because you're in my tribe.
Well, now hold on. So, like, if Christian tribe sees one of their members say sacrificing a goat to Satan, and someone else says you don't have a permit for that, they will not, in fact, say no. They're allowed to do that because they're my tribe. They'll go, well, no, like that's literally the thing that my tribe doesn't do.
Kind of like how the upper echelon of the Catholic Church molests children and stuff, and they're like, we're just going to put that away so that nobody knows about it.
We're going to move the priest somewhere else.
Right, move the priest somewhere else, and he can still keep his title, and we're just going to continue keeping him in the tribe because he's part of our tribe, and we're going to protect him.
Well, that's the difference between the corrupt leadership of the tribe and the membership of the tribe. Like the actual Catholics, every last one of them will say, no, that is heavily unchristian behavior.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they exist in a hierarchical superstructure.
Right.
And that's the difference between my tribe. My tribe doesn't do that.
So then it's not really a tribe because tribes have like leaders.
Disagree.
It's just a group.
No.
It's
I'm in self-leadership tribe. Most tribes have leaders, and that's why my tribe is better.
I'm going to have to say that it's not a tribe because it doesn't follow tribe think. Tribe think is when you do things like that. Protect your tribe members no matter what because they're part of your tribe. Side with your tribe members just because they're part of your tribe. They're your team. This is just a group. It's a group of like-minded people and not a tribe.
But I expect them to protect me at some point ever, and I'm also willing to protect them.
Yes.
But only if they keep doing what my tribe does.
Yes. I think that's a group, though. We're a gang.
Gang. We're coming after your kids. Oh, wait, we're not coming after your kids.
Well, I mean...
Speak for yourself, Peakless. I'm not coming after anyone's kids.
I would absolutely like to rescue as many children from the public school system as possible.
Yeah.
I just know that the only effective way of doing that is peace.
Yes. Education.
Yeah.
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 Real, actual education, not public education.
Yeah, it turns out if you use, violence to get your way, you upset people, and then they push back against what you're doing with your violence.
Unless they agree with your violence. Some people agree with the violence, and so they're like, yeah, violence on behalf of my cause. And that's a tribe.
We might be reaching, is there a set of all sets except sets that contain themselves kind of wackiness on this one.
Dividing by zero. We're going to take a call. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I have something to say about the tribalism issue.
Sure.
Jews will not replace us.
Okay.
What power?
Dump.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you.
They're coming out today.
Yeah.
The trolls are
Must
coming
be
out
one of
for
those
sure.
days.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would you like to finish your story about the tasty glyphosates?
Delicious Roundup.
It's my favorite. It's in all of my favorite breakfast cereals.
It is. Every last one.
Did you bring some Roundup to drink?
I mean, it's in the water, so yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I brought my own from home. It's inside my body already, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, classified as a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization, Bayer maintains that Roundup is scientifically safe. You know, sometimes there are just no good guys in a conflict. While the lawsuits have been dropped against the Mexican government, CONACYT said it will, quote, continue its efforts to ensure that genetically modified corn and glyphosate are removed from the Mexican food supply, unquote, says the Mexico News Daily reported.
I urge anyone who is going to believe Bayer when they say glyphosate is scientifically safe to research the history of the Bayer company.
The science is settled, don't you know?
Oh, yes. It's settled, I'm sure.
Because that's how science works, right? Like
through settlements.
Right. You get this like hierarchy of peers, let's call them.
Mm-hmm.
And once the peerage has decided upon a thing, it's settled. And no one can demonstrate through an experiment that the peers are incorrect.
No, that's
how science works.
That's how you get thrown out of the scientific community and put in a mental institution. That's how that works. If somebody comes up with a new novel idea, everyone just stands around and laughs at them instead of being like, hey, this guy's got a new novel idea. Let's see if it has any merit.
And here's the thing. These are different sections of the priesthood of the state.
Mm-hmm. Oh, indeed. The state has their scientists. They have their financial clerks or auditors or whatever.
Yep.
And they have their business people and their whatever people to control the religious populace in their own jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's like how the Catholic Church had different orders of knights.
Yes.
And you could be an order of this, you could be a member of this order, or you could be a member of this order, and you were on the same side basically, but you did different things. In the same way, you have the judges, you have the media, you have the academia, and you have the bankers.
Yes.
And these are distinct tribes, these are distinct distinct liturgical orders, but they all serve the same church, that is the worship of the state.
Yeah, they're all arms on the same monster.
Yeah. And every single one of these would cease to exist if we had our own system of money.
Yes, if we stop feeding the beast, the beast will die.
Right. I mean, people think that science is actually getting done when it's not. You have this system where they fuel academia with your money, and then academia never has to prove any of its conclusions ever under any circumstance. Now, on the other hand, if you had a free market, then academics would have to produce something that actually worked.
I saw an article. I read a lot. So I saw an article about how scientific papers, I think it was a third of them get retracted because they're just AI garbage.
Doesn't surprise me.
The scientists just have an AI make up a paper and then they print it and then they get paid and then they're like, oh, whoops, that's just AI hallucinations. Retract it, but they still got paid.
Well, you know what we got to do.
They don't have to give it back.
All right. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Nope, you cheated. In fact, give that back and go to jail.
Yeah, no.
Or lose your position or something.
No.
Maybe actually punish the behavior that you want to stop. Oh, I've got it though.
They don't want it to stop.
What we need is peer review. So what's actually going to happen here is that we're going to have artificial intelligence look through the papers to find papers that were made by other artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Right. Because that's its peer.
Yeah, this is an effective way of finding out the truth about reality.
Yeah.
We're going to have AI look at other AI papers. Yep, that's going to tell us the truth about everything.
Peer review is the same thing. It's the same thing. So it's like if I and my husband were going to get paid for something, or if I'm going to get paid for something, and my husband is on the other side, and I'm like, I'm going to have somebody double check my work. Will you check this so you can make sure that I get paid and just say that it's good? And they're like, yeah. Will you do mine after? And they're like, yeah. And then they do.
So peer review is definitely a back scratching activity.
Yeah. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah.
And definitely science has also become a religion because people always look to the science and say, the science is settled.
Yeah.
Except, the science
is never settled.
It shouldn't be ever settled.
Right.
No. It's not if they're doing it right, because you should constantly be learning.
Yeah, and that's its job. So science is there as a part of this religion to tell you what is and is not official reality. And when people are science deniers, we used to have a word for that. Heretic. Mm-hmm. Heretic is what we used to call people who would deny what the church believed to be true about reality.
Yeah.
And they also would be ostracized.
Yeah.
Because science deniers have to be pushed out of civilization. You can't just listen to them and decide whether what they say makes sense. That's why we have experts.
That's why we have public education. We don't want you to think.
You're
not supposed to think for yourself.
We want you to eat your slab of terrible hog meat and swallow the slime that we feed you because it's going to be good for you. And then you'll come and work at our factories and take care of our lives.
Eat the bugs.
Eat the bugs.
Live in the pod. You will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah. Just listen to us and do what you're told is literally what kids are doing in school. They go to school. They're told how to think.
Yeah.
Not what to think. They're told this is the specific way that you need to get this problem solved, and you need to show me your work.
Right.
So that way I know that you're getting there that specific way and not any other way that makes more sense to you, even if it's right.
Yeah.
You will not get the points from the teacher if it's, the right answer, but not the way that they approve. Because they don't, that literally tells you they don't want you to think.
Yeah, it's amazing watching them strip all of the value out of classical education. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that they did was make sure that no one ever learns logic until they get to college. Because once they're in college, we've at least had, a good 12 years to brainwash them. Maybe we can trust them to know what a fallacy is at that point. Mm-hmm. The second step was to make sure that they can't read.
Yeah.
Because, that's literally why we accepted them doing public education in the first place, was because we were worried that we would have illiterate kids. And now we have illiterate kids.
Yeah. What is the percentage of kids that graduate school
it's like 80
able to read?
Yeah, no, it's like 80% that are functionally illiterate.
No, it's 20% that are functionally illiterate.
That's still too much.
Yeah.
When their whole job is for 12 years to teach kids, and they can't even teach them how to read in 12 years.
Yeah. And now, because that wasn't enough, we have to reduce their ability to use numbers. They can't just be illiterate and illogical. They have to be innumerate. Because being able to know that 2 + 2 does in fact equal 4 is just way too much authority.
Yeah, now we have new math.
Yeah. Which is why none of the parents can do it, because it's not math. And it's show your work. But at least when I was in that wretched indoctrination camp, showing your work was about at least getting to the right answer. And there was just one right answer. Mm-hmm. And sure, you'd take a couple of points off because you didn't show your work, but at least you get some credit for getting to the right answer. But now, no. There are multiple right answers, but more importantly, show your work in this brand new way that has never been mathematical before.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. The kids are struggling with this math, which doesn't make any sense, because if it makes sense, then if you teach them from the beginning, then they shouldn't be struggling with it.
Right.
We're going to go to Gigi in South Carolina. Hi, Gigi.
Good evening, everybody. I am loving all the wide range of interesting and controversial topics this evening. And just to show again how much I admire and respect the basis of this program's mission statement. The last caller, I was listening, holding on when he said, "We won't let the Jews replace us." Well, I'm Jewish, honey, so brace yourself. And I love the famous line in All in the Family when Mike says to Archie, "And that's why I thank God I'm an atheist." Nowhere, no how, no place should the Ten Commandments be in a public, again, focus on the adjective, public school.
Right.
Oh my God. Look what...
Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. More coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Hire with your Week in Review, a roundup of what's been making headlines around the world these past days.
Now our country has voted for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
And we start this week in the UK, where the British people delivered an overwhelming call for change as the Labour Party took control of government following a landslide election victory. It ends 14 years of Conservative rule. Ollie Barrett was following a historic election night from outside Parliament in London.
The changeover in British politics is brutal. Hours after conceding defeat in the election, Rishi Sunak leaves Downing Street and Keir Starmer enters number 10. He will have to spend the next few days putting together a new cabinet, a government that can run the country with the sizable majority that he has secured in the House of Commons. Huge challenges ahead for that government. Huge challenges also ahead for the Conservatives after this rout at the ballot box. Some in the party think they've abandoned their base and should turn right. Others think they've abandoned the centre ground and should move in that direction. There are battles ahead.
Elections globally. Iranians took part on Friday in a runoff presidential vote, and the French are heading to the polls again this weekend for the second round of the general election. In the United States, the election is still 4 months away, but already President Joe Biden is fighting for his political future on the campaign trail as he seeks to allay concerns over his age and mental acuity amid a shaky debate performance last week, which sparked intense deliberations about whether he should step aside and give up the nomination. Caroline Malone reports.
Joe Biden has admitted the debate wasn't a good night for him, but he insists he's still the best person to beat Donald Trump in the US election. "I'm not going anywhere," he told military service people and families at the White House on July 4th. That's the same messaging he'd given governors on Wednesday. But polls show he's slipping further behind his Republican rival, particularly in swing states. The latest data suggests as many as 80% of people in the US think Biden is too old to be president again.
Joe Biden is 81. That's 3 years older than Donald Trump, whose sentencing has been postponed because of the United States Supreme Court's controversial decision to provide criminal immunity for US presidents. He was due to appear in court in New York this coming Thursday, having been convicted for falsifying business records to cover up an affair with a porn star, a guilty verdict Trump says he'll appeal. But the judge confirmed the sentencing is now officially delayed until mid-September, after Trump argued his conviction should be overturned due to Monday's landmark Supreme Court ruling. From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control, 603-283-6160. It's officially unofficial. We've been podcasting since podcasts began. But we're launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is 30 to 45-minute show, releasing once a week, and you can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. Again, that's freetalkcast.com. The new episode came out Friday, and Nikki was on. I'm sure people miss Nikki, so they can go hear how Nikki's doing.
Oh, good.
By listening to the podcast. And we do have a call. It's Sarah in New Mexico. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi. Yes. I just want to say that, they have this new computer data system here in Albuquerque that it actually lets you know the fatality rates and dangerous roads and how many people are killed and what things were.
Vaccines?
Huh?
Of vaccines?
Traffic data.
No, traffic fatality.
I'm sorry, I thought it was someone other than Sarah.
Pickles was having some hope there for
Just
a
a
second.
ticker how many people have died from the COVID vaccine.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, it's a map, and I think it's a complete joke because all of Albuquerque is a danger zone. I can't believe they come up with this to alert you what is the most dangerous intersection, how many people died, and avoid this place. And
Yeah, why can't people just make the exact same decisions in their life as you do?
What's the decision? Just make a conclusion.
No, the decision to not drive. Like, why can't everyone just be exactly like Sarah from New Mexico?
I think, Sarah.
I'm not talking about the drivers. I'm talking about the bicycle. They're kind of warn the pedestrians and the bicycles to be aware of certain areas, how many people have been killed. I'm not talking about automobiles.
I think
Isn't
they're
that what
trying.
you're concerned with, like hurting pedestrians and bicyclists is automobile drivers?
She thinks that it's useless information for the people, though.
Because all of New Mexico is dangerous.
Because it's all dangerous.
Well,
that's what
I
I'm
hate
talking about.
I hate to tell you, Sarah, life is dangerous.
It is. It's very dangerous.
Like the entire planet. Like the second you get born till the second you die, you are in danger.
I think they're hoping that seeing a tangible number will make people think about it and be like, wow, that's a lot of people that died. Maybe I should stop driving terribly.
Well, the only hope is that they're talking about putting points on the driver's license and on the car insurance. If you're racking up the traffic tickets, speeding tickets, you're the one that have to pay for the higher insurance. They'll behave themselves.
I don't think they will.
I don't think so either. I don't think it's going to work.
But see, nobody wants to have accountability for their own actions. You know what I mean? Nobody say, hey, you have points on your car.
Well, I got to tell you, Sarah, I don't think that this problem will ever be solved as long as we have a monopoly on roads.
Monopoly. I just think that we need the self-driving taxis here as soon as possible. I don't know why they have them in Phoenix and all other places, and nobody knows how to drive here in Albuquerque.
Have you looked into what self-driving cars are in terms of numbers of like accidents that they get into? It's not a solution, Sarah.
Also, if there was a market for it, if people wanted to pay for these self-driving taxis, I'm sure they would be there, but there must not be a market for it.
Well, part of it is that the state is getting in the way of that possibility anyway by just making it illegal to do so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Regulations get in the way of all progress. That's kind of how it works. But I got to tell you, Sarah, like, as long as there is a monopoly in how we get from A to B, you're not going to see any efficiency. Now, once there's a competitive market,
an incentive,
right, then people can fire the people who are determining what the rules of this particular road are. And they can decide, I'm going to use this road instead because they're not causing a bunch of fatalities in pedestrians.
Yeah, it's something. Well, it's just silly, but hey, what did you think about Mike Creamer as deciding how smart the intelligence level of that church, the non-dairy fake hydrogenated? Were you there listening to me?
I
That's
have
how
absolutely no idea what
Last-
you're talking about and have complete segue whiplash.
Last week, Sarah said that she went to a church and they had non-dairy creamer in the church. And so that means that they're stupid and poor.
Yeah, that's all
You're
I
going to
know.
have to walk me through that one, Sarah.
Well, all the other ones have half and half. You know, and the organic dairy, they have enough sense. But all they offer you is it's a hydrogenated soybean non-dairy creamer that when you put it in, you're supposed to pretend that it's kind of like a milk, but it's hydrogenated oils.
Well, maybe they're
I
just
mean,
vegans.
No, they're poor and they're stupid. The churches got money; they could afford it. But this is all.
Well,
the
hold on.
coverage
Which is
there
it,
is way
Sarah?
apart.
Which is it? Are they poor or do they have money?
Well, they used to be poor, but the churches got money now because they own a whole building with like 15 businesses giving rent money. But see, that's all they know.
Why
So
don't
they
you
know.
bring them some half and half so they can try it out and decide that it's better, and then you'll better their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah, but maybe we'll better or
No, Sarah, don't just and then go on to the next thing. Like, think about it. Like, you could solve this problem by your own actions.
And
By
then
bringing
they'll be-
half and half or cream or your favorite creamer and say, I like this creamer. Do you want to join me in having this creamer?
And then they'll be smart and rich.
There you go.
You know what? I think that's a good idea. I think I might invest in Shamrock. They have those little mini cup, super ultra pasteurized half and halves.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good dairy. And then I think they're kind of almost organic or whatever. I don't know. They don't use hormones. And then they have those little mini things that's sealed. And then that tastes just like half and half, but it could stay out of the refrigerator. I mean, maybe I'll invest some money and bring it to them, show them what it is.
See,
Most
that's
people don't even know
activism.
What it is.
There you go.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for the call,
Thank
Sarah.
you, Sarah. I feel like every now and again we make actual progress. Because I mean, honestly, like this is really what being a voluntarist is about when it comes down to like how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you are not looking for someone else to solve the problem for you. I'm not looking to complain about this problem until enough of us complain about this problem till some other person steals some money from all of us to solve this problem.
I am looking to complain about the problem, but also affect my own life.
Right.
I love to complain about problems. That's why I'm on the radio complaining about problems.
I'm only complaining about one problem, and it's that we have this monopoly on aggression because all of the things that upset me come down to that. And as soon as the important reason of like, why bother figuring out that this is the problem is so that we can do something else and figure out exactly how we can do something else. Now, my personal preferred method, and I believe the most effective means, is that you just cut the root by destroying their ability to print money that people actually value. And the way that you can do this is by valuing money that they can't print.
Alternative currencies.
Right.
Like buttons or
Right.
Bitcoin.
Right. And that's the way that you actively do something to change what you have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what we're all about.
Yes.
That's how freedom works. Is if you don't like something, you got to be willing to change it. If you don't like how your life is turning out, you got to change how your life is turning out. You got to make decisions to affect your outcome rather than just sit on your butt and complain, oh, my life sucks right now. I'm just sitting here. I'm poor. I'm destitute. I don't want to get up and work because it's scary. Well, you got to get up and work. You got to get out of bed. You got to make your bed. And you got to put the work in.
The first step of action to make any of that a reality is to stop sending kids to public school and actually have people getting an actual education.
Yeah.
Because if you are not educated enough to think for yourself, then you're never going to go anywhere. Nothing will change. You'll just sit in your house and complain that your life is terrible and drink your fake milk, which makes you dumb and poor, and eat the glyphosate, and you'll never question anything because that's what you've been told to do.
Yep.
Well, and this is why, whether it counts as a tribe or not, I like to be around people that have the same values that I do so that we can say, no, you can't just put people in jail because they want to raise their own kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let people who want to raise their own kids raise their own kids. If for no other reason, then it makes us all very rich to do so.
Yeah. We're going to go to the phones for David in New Mexico. Hi, David. I'm surprised you're here, not in jail after confessing to murdering people last week.
They couldn't catch me. They came around, but yeah, I'm too shifty for them.
All right.
I see.
You are shifty.
Yeah. Yes, very, very. All the gears, like first through fifth and reverse. Got to use that reverse tactically when they're after you.
Wouldn't that just bring you closer to them?
Well, no. See, your situational awareness is just not on par. There's all kinds. It's too complicated to explain on the telephone.
Oh, I see.
When you're being chased by Johnny Law, there's just so many variables. You got to be there, man, or else play Grand Theft Auto.
It's way over my head anyway. I'm a girl. I don't know anything about cars.
Well, and this is why you have action films, but you don't have action books. Because describing tactics in a book is just not nearly as much fun as watching cars explode.
You have action books. What about, like, Dune?
Dune's not an action
There's
book.
action in it.
There's action in books, but you don't have, like, something that... like, there's no Fast and Furious, the novelization.
Well, that's because it's trash.
Yes, but it's fun and exciting trash where someone might die all of the time.
You could just do that by yourself, though.
Fun and exciting trash? I think I dated her.
Oh.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I think doing that by yourself is called playing with micro machines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of that, what was that? I heard a little bit ago about sharing a screamer.
Sharing a screamer?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're talking about sharing a screamer.
I also don't know what you're talking about. We're lost,
man.
David.
Have you been doing peyote? I mean, I know you're in New Mexico. It's out there.
It is. As a matter of fact, it's right over there, and right over there, and that jar there, and that drawer there. Yeah.
Oh, so you have. Okay. Well, that explains the sharing a screamer that you heard someone say, even though no one said that.
Yeah, you did too. Say it. You were talking with Sarah. You were talking with Sarah about it, and Riley said something about sharing a screamer.
I said sharing creamer.
Creamer.
Oh, that's even worse. Or better.
So what do you want to talk about tonight, David?
Screamers and creamers, I guess. No, I was calling about something that
they have 900 numbers for that.
Yeah, well, that's $3 a minute. Who can afford that, woman?
Not the people who are using artificial dairy creamer.
That's right. David must have fake milk.
I don't want no artificial creamer. I want the real thing, baby. So there were two things that interested me, and the one that came around second, I guess I'll go with that one, because that was you don't hear that one quite as often. The setup is rather good for it. First of all, there's a setup, and it went 1, 2, 3. First, Peakless made a comment about, and I don't remember the context exactly, but it was an anti-Semitism thing about who you can criticize, whatever, and then there was an anti-Semitism comment, and then you had the troll for number 2, the troll with the Jews will not replace us. That triggered Gigi, and Gigi called in and
ironically replaced him as a caller.
Indeed.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Gigi wins.
And so,
yeah, Gigi does win.
Yes. And so, Gigi, on your next call into the program, I want and we can talk about it now, but I want Gigi to expand on what this replacement stuff is all about. And so she can do that. But since we don't have her, Peakless, so what is going on? You made the anti-Semitic, I'm sorry, I can't remember the context.
Yeah, I was talking about how the left is obsessed with race. And generally speaking, that means that you are not allowed to say anything against racial minorities. However, right now, because of the whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict, from their perspective and their narrative, very clearly the Israelis are the colonizers, the powerful majority that has moved into the region and displaced its native population, so on and so forth. Which means that they are currently against Jews. Mm-hmm. And as a result, they've pretty much given up on the whole you're not allowed to say things against Jews on the left.
I wonder if any of them have had like internal thought on this and like just imploded from the inside when they were like, this goes against everything I believe.
Has the cognitive dissonance ever given any of them an aneurysm?
Do they
Probably not.
Like
I imagine they don't think about it. They just eat their glyphosate foods and
they
enjoy
just
life.
call their doctor and they're like, I need to up my antipsychotics.
Yep. And see, I'm in this position where I don't care at all if you're Jewish. I'm against Israel. I'm against Palestine. I'm against Hamas, for that matter. I'm for Palestinians and I'm for Israelis. Like, the people I like. Now, these horrible mafias that monopolize aggression and force them to kill each other, I'm against. And apparently that's just too wildly nuanced of a thought.
You don't like people who commit crimes against humanity?
Yeah.
What?
Isn't that wild?
That's
like, I don't have this special religious carve-out because they have the will of the people.
They're on the right team. You're supposed to cheer for them.
Yeah, Peakless, don't you know how this thing works?
You know what's funny about that? They work for us.
Allegedly.
Right. Yeah, go ahead and fire them. See how that works. But yeah, that's what I was saying about the left's current perspective on Judaism, which is weird because for a very, very long time they protected them like every other minority. And now the like grassroots level of the left, like the voting bloc, is against Israel. But of course, the political elites of the left, as always, are a bunch of neoliberal authoritarian monsters that are, of course, pro-Israel because that's their military base, how they get a foothold into the Middle East to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, that partially answers the question I was about to answer or ask you is why do they protect them? In square one, why do they protect them? And they stopped protecting them, but why did they protect them?
Oh, because they're trying to take over the world.
I guess I should define they.
So in this case, it's the Uniparty, and they do the whole like professional wrestling style thing where like, oh, we're the underdog, and they both do this whole thing where like, well, we won, but we're not going to actually do any of the things that our voters wanted us to do. We'll make some gestures, we'll do some very virtue signally kind of policies, but we won't actually accomplish any of the things that everyone wants done.
Mm-hmm. And then they hand, the other guy a steel chair from underneath the mat.
Right, which is
where
why
no one can see.
Which is why, like, okay, so for example, we have we just had a presidential debate between two Zionists. Like, both of them are in favor of the state of Israel, like, unquestionably. So not a whole lot of leeway there. Whereas me, I, as always, believe in a no-state solution. Like, individuals should own property. Full stop.
And themselves.
Well, yeah. It's your first property.
Yeah.
It's the one property you can't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as you're in your body, you can't sell it to anyone else.
Except for Skeeter. So if you want any of Skeeter's like organs and stuff, he says that they're up for grabs because he is just part
Owned
of
by
the
the collective, yeah,
and so
so he can
he
still-
owns Skeeter.
yeah.
We don't agree that Skeeter owns us, so he can't have any of ours.
Right.
But it works the other way around because he agrees.
Well,
So
because the will of the people.
So, Peakless, here's the thing. You have people in this country that say that God gave the land to Israel, so therefore we need to support Israel. Why do you not agree with that?
God gave this land, stab to me. Don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's a magnificent YouTube video. Because, yeah, it's always the same old story. Well, God gave me this, and my evidence for that is that I am currently in control of it.
I don't know that guy. I hate when people use God says or God decided or God gave this or anything like that. You know how many people in the world don't believe in your God, whoever's saying that? So many. Why do you think that you're right and you get to just force your will of your theoretical idea that you cannot prove on anyone?
Yeah, and I don't care which abstract it is. I don't care
Me
if it's
neither.
Yahweh. I don't care if it's the will of the people. I don't care if it's evolution.
Don't care.
Your particular sky ghost does not give you a right over anything.
Right.
And the fact that you currently have control of a thing also doesn't give you a right over the thing.
Right. It's not valid just because you have control.
Right. That's the whole point of
Right.
rights, is that you can have control over something that you don't have a right to. It's called aggression.
Isn't that a whole thing like might makes right that people believe?
Yeah, that is exactly it. And those are the only ultimate options. Either might makes right, or mixing your labor with nature makes right. And that's it. Those are the only options, and they have two very simple outcomes. One leads to solving our problems with violence. The other leads to solving our problems with communication.
What do you think leads people to want to control other people? I
Who you
don't
asking?
understand it.
I don't either.
Fear, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's this very sad thing where they themselves do not want to be stolen from.
That makes
and
sense.
so they are willing to steal from others.
And protect yourself. Like, that's how you stop being stolen from.
Yeah, that requires, like, being responsible, and that scares people. Again, it's fear motivated.
What's up, David?
Is this thing still on? Yeah,
It's still on.
Yeah, you can chime in anytime.
I thought you were skeetering me.
No.
No, not
okay.
yet.
All right. So Riley.
Don't skeeter us, we won't skeeter you.
All right. So Riley used the term Israel. Riley, define Israel.
I don't know how to define Israel. I mean, I've heard it's a plot of land.
You use the word. How can you have any pudding if you haven't eaten your meat?
Good point.
I'm an adult and I'll eat pudding when I want.
Exactly.
I can define Israel.
Define it.
Define it then.
So Israel is that plot of land that the British decided gets to be owned by the Jews.
No, I think it's like a...
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lori. Go ahead. You're the boss.
Isn't Israel like a kingdom?
They don't have a king.
Yeah,
presently.
well, no, yeah, they do. It's God. But like, isn't it the kingdom of Israel where it's like all of this land that they have decided is the holy land is theirs?
Bunny rabbit.
It's
Hi,
not.
Bunny.
It's not like a strict border.
Well, so that's the difference between Israel and Judea.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Expand.
Yeah,
Expound on
and
that
it's a
point.
useful distinction to make because, like, that's why I say, like, no, I'm against the existence of Israel. I am against this particular state that they didn't have a right to give them, but now everyone needs to kill each other over. That state needs to cease to exist. That is not the same as saying, like, a lot of these people have rightful property in this region, and those individuals should, in fact, hold the right to what they have produced themselves.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
All right. Wait. So you also used another term, and we're not even finished with Israel, but you introduced the term Jew. So what is a Jew?
Good question.
Indeed, a very good question.
And unfortunately, not an easy one to answer because there's all of these different possible definitions from different people, some of which are mutually exclusive just for added nonsense. And the biggest issue is that you've got this overlap of, like, the race and the religion.
Raza.
And boy, that is confusing.
Yeah, and the race is only passed down through the mother for some reason.
By some definitions, but not others.
No.
And I think that, as always, they are just trying to confuse us so that we don't see the very simple truth of stop hitting each other and
don't
stop
take their
stealing
stuff.
each other's stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the non-aggression principle summed up.
Thanks for the call, David. It's been Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. Call in tomorrow. Talk to us again.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person